All right, what's going on today, chat? What is going on? Hopefully you guys are having a good Wednesday. Just getting the first batch of cards ready for episode 14 of Grade Review. Pretty crazy stuff. Hey, Apple Juice, how's it going? Welcome back, welcome back. Nice to see you back. Just wait for everyone to kind of start getting in here. Scrappy, how's it going? Welcome. We are just about, if this is your first time, welcome. We're about to look at some cards for our grade review today. Episode 14. Can't believe I've done 14 of these already. Hey, Wicked, how's it going? So, we got a pretty beefy lineup. We have, currently in queue, I think we have 26 cards. That Mask, thanks so much for the follow. Doing chores, but listening to my Moon Kitty comes up. All right, so again, welcome, guys. My name is Galaxia Gaming, for those of you who are new to the stream. Every Wednesday, we do what's called Grade Review, where I assess community members' cards live and free to give my 2 cents on what I think the card would get if graded through PSA. So we also let chat vote as well, so it kind of gives both my assessment as well as chat's assessment. So we're in it for the long haul tonight. As always, we got about our 2 to 3 hour stream ahead of us, so we are just gonna get right into it. So first up is Jolteon from Jungle. So one thing that we see right off the bat is that this is not the no symbol error. So if you guys have ever seen this, the no symbol error will have this Vileplume top completely gone. So let us start with, as always, the centering. So the centering of this card looks pretty good. Maybe a little bit thicker on the left side than it is on the right, but not too bad. Hey, Michael, going pretty good. Just starting stream, so welcome. So let's look at the edges now. So you can kind of see some what's known as silvering on this left side. So I kind of mention this, it seems like once a week, but for those of you who are unaware, what the term silvering means is that when this card was on the sheet, the blades that would cut the cards off the sheet ends up getting dull. So back in the day, with Wizards of the Coast was printing this stuff into the ground, the blades were getting duller and duller and duller, but they didn't care. So they essentially just kept dull blades to cut these sheets, which caused some of the top of the holofoil to get nicked or scraped or not as clean cut. So you see kind of these jagged, hollow edges, also known as silvering. So as we look at this, we see all that silvering on that left side. The bottom left-hand corner looks good. The bottom right looks good, but again, it kind of comes off of this black mouse pad, so it's kind of tough to tell. We can't really see too much. Hey, David, how's it going? As well as some silvering on the right side. Now looking at the text, I don't see any scratches, which is great. And from this angle, Big Jerome, thanks so much for the heart. Appreciate you. I don't see anything from this angle particular. So again, we have to always consider the one picture that we have both from the front and on the back. So from this angle, it doesn't appear to have any scratches, but there might be. So we always have to consider that, but we're only grading based off of the pictures that we see. So as of now, we don't see any scratches on this holo. So, but again, upon further inspection, maybe here, kind of in this left corner, you can kind of see with my hover tool, there might be some scratches there as well, but let's flip it over. So on the back, first the centering. So the top is a little bit thicker than the bottom, so it's a little off center, but not too crazy. Have some whitening on that top edge, and we also have some little white specks. Again, some of these might be able to get cleaned with a microfiber cloth, or just might be printing defect of some kind, or just general surface wear. So this dot, for example, that I'm kind of pointing with my mouse, makes it a little bit tough, but we'll kind of keep going on. This almost looks like a dent or crease because it's a much darker, just based off of the lighting, than the rest of the card, so that might be a dent. Corners, a little bit of whitening. The left side, a little bit of whitening. That's kind of the theme of this card so far, is just whitened edges. So we are looking at the bottom. Hey Betty, how's it going? So bottom left, some whitening, some bottom edges. So yeah, the name of this card is essentially whitened edges and corners, all on the backside. But the surface overall doesn't look too bad. It's just those edges and corners and this possible dent on the top left. So as we do in this stream, I'm actually going to let you as chat also weigh in on what you think this card would get. So there is a poll that should be active in the top left-hand corner of your device now that allows you to vote on a poll. So what do you as chat think that this card would get as PSA? So again, this is the front of the Jolteon, and then this is the back. So again, if you want to vote and weigh in, we calculate the average once the poll is done. So while you guys are doing that, I'm going to catch up with chat. So yeah, welcome guys again. If this is your first time, welcome. And for those of you who have come through before, I appreciate you coming back. You gonna start... David, thanks so much for the follow. I don't know if I caught that. You gonna start streaming when? Yeah, ooh, so I intend on streaming every Wednesday from 7 to 10 Eastern Standard. So let's see. Michael, am I able to send you some cards to clean and ship off to CGC or PSA? So hopefully that'll be a service soon, Michael. I'm actually testing it with a few people with the community, so definitely stay tuned. It's definitely going to be a service that I can hopefully provide sooner rather than later. Chris, thanks so much for the follow. Your other account is shadowed. Well, that's not good. Hey, Radiant, how's it going? Can you fix those white marks? It depends. So there are some techniques that I'm going to be hopefully trialing soon once my humidor is... once the humidity is absorbed into the new wood of my humidor. So there are ways to like press depending on if the whitening is curled or not. But that's really about it. Okay. So we got pretty much a tie right down the middle. We have 8 through 6. Because we had 6 votes for 8 and then 6 votes for 7 or 6. So I'll do 8 to 6 here. So what do I think this Jolteon would get? So again, the centering slightly off on the left to the right, but not a crazy amount. There is some silvering on the left and the right edge, as well as potentially the bottom, but it's kind of hard to tell. But their corners look actually pretty decent. There is some little dot or something that can probably get cleaned from there. And in regards to scratching on the foil, since we only have one picture, the only thing that I can see from this angle and lighting is potentially here towards the bottom left. So as we flip it over, you can see all the edges and corners are essentially whitened. Not too bad overall, but it's definitely noticeable. In addition to this possible dent here, like I kind of highlighted on before. So with all of the whitening on the back, as well as this potential dent, you're probably looking at anywhere from like a 5 or a 6, but I can't confidently say just because of how the pictures are taken. So I would say probably a 6 in this case would be my guess. But not too bad though. Good binder card. It's always a good binder card. All right. So next up we have keeping on the Vaporeon. This foil actually, so based off this picture, the foiling on this card actually looks pretty good, because this one you can really see Vaporeon, traditionally one of the hardest cards to grade in Jungle. But let's see. So before I start, I'm just going to catch up with chat real quick. I appreciate those kind words, Michael. Yeah, I'm right there with you. I've been waiting probably for almost 3 weeks now, and it's like it's steadily climbing, but I really just have to keep putting water in it and making sure that hopefully it'll get to 70. But again, like for new humidors, it just takes so long to get the water absorbed into the humidor. Could I send you some pictures? Yeah, Michael. So for those of you who are wondering how to submit, so what you're seeing on screen is one of the pinned videos of my channel. The video is called Grade Review and How To. So if you watch that, it's about a 45-second video. It'll tell you everything you need to know about how to submit, where to submit, and what the criteria are. So if you're interested in that, it's a free service that you're more than welcome to check out. So yeah. Victor, thanks so much for the follow. Thanks so much. It is free, yes. And Buzzy B, thanks for the follow. All right, so next up is Vaporeon. So the centering a lot better on this one than the Jolteon. Like, even though the Jolteon wasn't bad, it is definitely better. But there is the same stain that I kind of see on this top part that I saw on the Jolteon before. So we have to keep that in mind. Silvering, again, is impacting this left edge. The left corner is good, bottom's good, bottom right corner is good. Right edge, you have that silver. You can kind of see some of that silver reflecting from the camera. No scratches on the text, which is really good. Again, I see a lot of that on the jungle for whatever reason. I don't know if it's just how people collected them or stored them or what. But I always like to look at and see if there's any silver scratches that stick out within the text. But this hollow right here, I would imagine I would be seeing some scratches, and it looks pretty clean. So I only see maybe one. I'm trying not to shake my mouse too much, but I see one by the tip of my mouse. So that's 1, 2 here. 3 here. Very vertical, almost like a print line, just how straight it is. But it's hard to see everywhere else. So you have 3 very, very small scratches. Nothing too crazy. This card is slightly blurry, so the surface is going to be kind of hard to determine on the back, but the edges should be fine. Big Jerome, thanks for the ice creams. Appreciate you. A little bit of whitening on the top, as well as on the top left side and that left edge. Same thing going towards... so it almost looks like the middle part of this left side is really clean, but as the near towards the top left and the bottom left is where you start to see most of the whitening. And some much more noticeable whitening on the corners in the bottom right, but that top left is actually pretty good. But again, we can't, since it's a little bit blurrier, I probably should have asked them to retake this, but it's okay. We really can't comment too much on the surface, but the corners and edges are enough for us to be able to kind of have like a general idea. So yeah. New poll has started. Again, if you want to weigh in on the poll, it should be on the top left of your device. So then once we get the average, then we'll add that to where it says my chat or the chat score. So Obstacle, thanks so much for the follow. Michael, yeah, I don't mind if people send slabs into the grade review. I think it would honestly help if you remove what the actual grade is, just to make it less bias, so that we can basically judge for ourselves what we think it is, because PSA does a really good job at having high resolution scans. So as long as you just keep the grade obscured or remove entirely, I don't mind doing that. How can you tell if card is real? That's definitely a long video discussion for sure. It's just experience at the end of the day. There's certain things that I look for. Really, the big ones is text, as well as how well the print quality is. So some of the printers that some people use for fakes oftentimes are not good enough to have the high quality dots per inch or DPI. So that's something I look for, especially on the back. You notice it. RQ woke up for a drink of water, saw that you're on. I don't care if it's 2 a.m. ready for this. I appreciate you, RQ. I think the last time you were in here, you were up until like 4 a.m. or something like that. Jason, thanks so much for the follow. What type of scope am I using? So this is just on a browser. So the extension that I have is magnifying glass hover zoom is all I'm using. SL, thanks for the follow. Do you regrade? I did once for like a meme. But it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money to regrade, depending on how many times you do it. So I normally don't, but that's why I invest in things like a microscope, which I have in my channel as an affiliate. So I do the due diligence to really make sure that I'm as accurate as I can be before I submit. So then if something comes back wildly off, I know that it's worth regrading, because versus if it's off by 1 or like in the positive or negative direction, I'm not that bad. Like, I'm not that mad about it or upset about it. But anyway, do you see the dent under the stage 1 inside the hollow? Let's see. you talking about this? Where the tip of my mouse is? Oh, appreciate it, oh. Yeah, I like to try to, you know, I like to try to spice it up a little bit. Yeah, I mean, I can see how you think that looks like a dent. I honestly don't know. Because you would think that, like... I don't know, that might be. That might be a dent. Because again, it's hard. The other thing too, like if you're gonna, like a really good plus if you are gonna be a participant in these grade reviews, because I always let people know that I'm about to review their card, is if they're actually in chat, they can kind of confirm or deny some of the things that we discover. So that'd be a really good example of like something we could try to figure out. But unfortunately, since they're not here, we don't really know. But that's probably a good thing to at least assume. So that's actually a really good IOOs. Okay. So chat thinks 7 or 6. So what am I thinking the Vaporeon? So centering is good. There is something here. Looks like a red dot or blemish. Silvering on the left side as well as the right. We do have 1, 2, where's the third one? 3 by the foot for the scratch, but then 1 potential dent that was discovered by someone in chat that could potentially bring this card a little bit lower is this potential dent, almost like if you put a pen and kind of jabbed it quickly. That looks like the surface area, almost like the tip of a pen. But let's flip it over. So really the only thing that we can see, just due to the nature of the picture taken, a little bit blurry, is the edges and corners. So we have some whitening on the top, a little bit on that top left, the side left, both on the more towards the top and the bottom left corner, bottom right corner. Pretty good on this right side, but again, it might be the lighting as well. But I would say with this, if that is a dent, especially if it's on the front, I'd probably say a 5. But if it's not, I'd probably say a 6. So just like benefit of the doubt, I'll probably say 6. But if it is a dent, it'd probably be a 5. Would be my guess. So yeah, let me just catch up with chat here before we move on to, I think, the Flareon. So we got the trio, the classic trio here. What do I think about Top Sun? I think they're cool. You know, it's always the more Pokemon the better in my opinion. Let's see. Hey Zubair, how's it going? Welcome back. So you know the declared grade of this card? No. So if someone decides not to submit these cards for grading, you know, it's up to them whether or not they want to give us the results. I do have the results of someone who has gone through this process, and they were fortunate enough to allow us to show it off on stream, so you can kind of gauge our accuracy. But no, it's totally optional. People just, you know, if they just want to have an idea from someone else that's not them, that's why I offer it as a free service, because these grades aren't guaranteed. Plus, we're only seeing one picture of the front and one picture on the back in most cases. So we all have to kind of remember that at the end of the day. My card got a small dimple on the surface. Where should I send it to grade? I mean, that's totally up to you. I think if you submit any of the big 3, they're gonna see that as a surface flaw. But Roach, thanks so much for the follow. Don't take this the wrong way, but you have a good voice for this live streaming stuff. I appreciate that, RQ. Maybe I should start reading audiobooks. Stop those cheaters. Thanks so much for the follow. And Raquel, thanks so much for the follow. DK, thanks so much for the follow. Let's see. I don't see these cards in the... Yeah, so it's going to be in the grade review. Hey, Moonlight, welcome back. Alright, so... let us clear the old information and continue on with the Flareon. So this one is almost weird. So it was a little bit thicker on the left on the Jolteon. It was pretty well centered on the Vaporeon. But it almost looks like the right of this Flareon's a little bit thicker than the left. So you kind of have like a little trend going on here. Again, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but the silvering on all 3 has been pretty predominant on both the left side and the right side. Hey, Poke, thanks so much for the tiny dinies, as always, coming in clutch. Appreciate you. So yeah, the silvering on the left and the right can't be ignored, as well as on the bottom, so you can kind of see some of that shimmering towards that bottom left. The hollow really clean in this bottom right, from what we can tell. Maybe two scratches here by that leading paw. But pretty straight, which leads me to believe that it possibly could be printing. But all in all, it doesn't have that stain that was present on the Jolteon and Vaporeon, which is good. So let's flip it over and hope for the best. Yeah, so all three of these are more so noticeable for the whitening on the back than it is on the front. So you got these corners, this top edge, this left edge, pretty noticeable. Some more little white spots in the bottom left, bottom right. This right edge, not too bad, but again, that might just be the lighting. But one thing that I have noticed, and it's my first opportunity to kind of mention it in the stream, is you can kind of see this dirt spot right here that I'm pointing at right now on stream. So in most cases, and for those of you who have seen some of my videos or have been in my live streams before, this might be something you can clean with just a simple Q-tip and some distilled water. Now, when someone hears that, they tend to ask, how, like, is the Q-tip dry or wet? So a good rule of thumb, if you were, for example, have cards like this that you're seeing, if you are going to attempt to clean, first I would always try your first time on cards you don't care about. So once you kind of get that out of the way and get a feel for it, the moisture should be about 5% moisture in the Q-tip. So a good rule of thumb, as you can even do it now. So on the back of your wrist, if you put your mouth about an inch away from the back of your wrist and kind of like breathe heavy, like you're almost like how you try to get ready to clean your glasses or sunglasses, that condensation on the back of your wrist should feel roughly the same on the Q-tip to clean. So then you just kind of very gently with a Q-tip, either go clockwise, counterclockwise, whatever, not putting a lot of pressure, to hopefully being able to get rid of this. And that doesn't count as an alteration. I know someone kind of asked that, and I just remembered I forgot to answer you, so I apologize. But that would not count as an alteration because you're just using distilled water and a Q-tip. You're removing something that is on top of the card instead of trying to fill in scratches with something like card wax or a chemical that is ill-advised. Those techniques are considered alterations. So, but that is another topic for another day. So yeah, while I catch up with chat, new poll should be active if you want to weigh in on what you think this Flareon would get graded through PSA. So there is the front and there is the back. So the poll should be active on your device in the top left now, if you want to weigh in. Again, there is the front, kind of highlight, do a soft hover here, kind of help you guys see some of these. The hollow in this bottom right, based off of what we can tell, is actually really clean, which is pretty cool. A little bit better on the front than the Jolteon and Vaporeon from before. It's really just the back, the whitening is really what's kind of holding this back. But that was apparent for the other two as well, so not too surprising. Yeah, Max, that's what I'm doing right now. So if you just go into, I'll mention it when I'm done with this, how to join the Discord and how to submit. It's a completely free service. I'm not charging anyone for it. So let me go back here. Ashley, thanks so much for the follow. Appreciate it. Let's see. Found them. Sorry. It's all good. 6, 7. Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of 8 through 6s, just kind of through the voting here. 7, possibly best one yet. Yeah, for sure, Chris. I think out of the 3, I think this one's probably the best one, would be my guess. Angel, thanks so much for the follow. And I appreciate everyone that has liked and shared and followed the live. Really does mean a lot. Again, I do this as a free service. I do a lot of, ways to give back to the community. I know for me personally, when I kind of go through TikTok live feeds, it's essentially a Pokemon QVC at this point. There are so many people that just try to sell you stuff. And I'm just here as someone that does this as a small business, as a part-time. I just want to offer something unique and fun to the community that you don't have to pay for. It's just a nice chill. Like, I'm not trying to sell you anything. If you want to ask my opinions or anything like that, I always appreciate those who are willing to listen to my opinion. And I'm more than happy to answer any questions, no matter how many times I answer them. It's completely okay. I'm trying to, be as educational as possible to the collecting community as a whole and Pokemon specifically. So any support that I see is truly appreciated. Man, wish I had my cards. Yeah, Moonlight. Yeah, there's like a bunch of Moon Kitties in the in the grade review for sure. I think I've at least reviewed, man, I can't remember, maybe 3 or 4 at this point. But Chris, do I grade Yu-Gi-Oh cards? I'm starting to. I actually picked up a hopefully a good conditioned Dark Magician of Chaos. So a DMOC from IOC First Ed. So I'm really excited to grade that. Ashley, if you were to sell Pokemon cards, where would you go? So me personally, since I use this, so I do this as a small business, I'm actually going to a convention next week, which is coming very fast. I personally enjoy selling in person at conventions for a multitude of reasons. Probably the biggest one is just to talk with people that share the same interest and hobby as me. I'm trying to kind of shift away from eBay, just from the fees and just, I don't know, like I just appreciate engaging with the community more so than just like simply selling on eBay, because I do this as a side hustle and side business. It's not my livelihood. So that's kind of how I do it. All right, so let me end the poll real quick. So chat, you guys on average are saying 7 or 6, which is actually not too bad of a grade. So what am I thinking this Flareon would get? So a little bit thicker on that right side than it is on the left. Again, silvering on both left and right. The only hollow scratching based off of the angle that I'm seeing this at, there are 2 scratches here, both by that leading paw, but pretty good, pretty strong start. Most of where we're going to kind of fall back, however, is the edges. So we have some whitening on the top left, the left edge, bottom, and we do have a little bit of dirt on that bottom of the Pokeball. So I'm assuming we can probably get that cleaned, in my honest opinion. That doesn't look too bad. But all in all, with just the amount of whitening on that back edge, normally if it's pretty predominant, it's tough for it to get the 7, if I'm going to be honest. So I'm probably, and you can kind of see some up here too, unless that's a lighting effect. So I'd probably say a 6 would be my opinion on the Flareon. But let's see, what convention? So I live in New York, so I'm traveling up to Saratoga Comic-Con for May 4th and May 5th. Decided to do a little road trip for it. But do people buy at market value at conventions? It really depends, Jackie. It really depends on who you're going towards. You know, some people do. Some people like to negotiate. Some people, you know, when you pay with cash versus card, you get better deals. You have a chance to haggle. So yeah, that's pretty average, Double. I know, for me personally, I normally buy at 70% and do trade at 80. Because I don't really mind my margins to be like really small, because it just allows me to, you know, have like a better sense, or allows me to have a better collection or just better inventory. But yeah, that's about it. So yeah. All right. So for those of you who are wondering, so sometimes we are lucky enough to have some of our community members actually report back with some of their potential, or the grades that they get after going through this service. So again, it's totally optional. We don't ask them to do this, but I will say that it's very appreciated when people do share. So I'm going to show, if I have this correct. So these are from a submission by Dream Scythe. So thank you, Dream Scythe, for sharing the cards that you got graded with us. So I'm just going to kind of go right off the top here, and I'm going to try to make this as easy to see for you guys as possible. This should be good enough. So first off, we had, so a lot of these were from, if you want to kind of go back and see some of these grades, Javi, thanks so much for the follow. So if you want to go back and see what we assess these at more in depth, these should be in episode 12 and 13 VOD. Both are on my YouTube channel. They're pretty long. So the Regice, for example, so the Regice ended up getting a PSA 7. And when we go back and stream, chat thought it was going to be a 7 or 6. I thought it was going to be a 7. So I was -1 in a good direction. So I thought this was going to get a 6. It ended up getting a 7, which you never want to complain about at all. Next was the Regirock EX. Ended up getting a near mint 8, which is super cool. Chat said anywhere between an 8 or a 6, and I said a 7. So again, -1 in the good direction. Next was this one. I think was the one that kind of took most of the points away for both myself and chat. So both myself and chat for the Registeel both thought a 9, but this ended up getting a near mint 7. So again, we have to remember that when submissions are sent into the grade review, right, we tend to only have one picture, one on the front and one on the back. So were there probably things that we couldn't see on stream? Sure. But again, we're always looking to improve, and this is what I want these streams to be, is that we learn and improve. So again, if you want to learn or look at what we saw to make it think that we're a 9, those VODs should be up. I think that one for the Registeel, I think was episode 12, if I remember correctly. But anyway, let's continue. So Dark Charizard, you guys actually guessed this one right on the money. So chat said a 9 for the Dark Zard, and it ended up getting a 9. I assessed it as an 8. So again, wrong. If you're noticing a trend, I'm -1 in the right direction for each one of these so far. Really, the only one that both myself and chat was wrong about was the Vaporeon. So the Vaporeon ended up getting a near mint 7. Chat was thinking 9. I thought 8, and that ended up getting a 7. So the Vaporeon for me specifically, I was off by 1 in the wrong direction. But one for being 1 off in the right direction or wrong direction, that's kind of what I like to strive for. As long as I'm not completely wrong, like 2. So like if I thought this, for example, if I thought this Dark Charizard was going to get a 9, it ended up getting a 7 or a 6. Like this one, actually, the Registeel, we both chat and myself thought this was going to get a 9, it ended up getting a 7. So that's something that I'd want to learn from. So that's kind of my rule of thumb. But yeah, thank you again, Dream Scythe, for sharing what your returns looked like. Again, it really helps us as a community to really weigh in and say like how accurate we are with these assessments. So thank you to Justin for showing off some of those really cool. I'm a big fan of Eeveelutions, so always appreciate when they are shared. So I am going to now, so next up is Unhandy Civic. So for those of you who are in the stream pretty often, Unhandy has definitely submitted a card or two, to put it lightly. We're talking all the way back to, let's see, so that was March. So you had, here we go. So boom. So again, the nice thing with Modern is that we tend to really look for 2 things that stand out to us the most. That is centering and slight edge wear, and from time to time print lines. But with the textured cards that I've been seeing more of with the Modern stuff, it's not as bad, but we definitely have to keep an eye out for it. So before I continue here, let me catch up here. So Javi, thanks so much for the follow. Jackie, thanks so much for the follow. Any reason to send a CGC over PSA? I personally don't have like a reason to send over one or the other. I think it's really on personal preference. For me personally, since I run this as a small business, on average, you have a higher return on investment if you do go through PSA. I just base that off of the data that I've seen. So that's something to consider too. Yeah, Moonlight is also saying the same thing too. What does a Gengar alt art go for raw? So normally, what I do is I just go on TCG Player and look up the Gengar VMAX, and I normally just like average the last 5 to 10 sales, because the averaging so many last sold sales will kind of help you determine whether or not there's some market manipulation going on. Especially right now, a good example would be the Umbreon V from Evolving Skies. In my personal opinion, there is a degree of manipulation. I don't think it's malicious per se, but I think, for example, PokeRev having it on his thumbnail, I think in 2 videos that were really popular, led the market to really kind of push towards that card. But yeah. What are the main differences between the grading services? To me, it's just personal preference. I can probably talk way more in depth at a later point, probably towards the end. But Sean, thanks so much for the follow. I wish they still gave subgrades. I thought they offered it as like a service or something, didn't they? Like as an additional service. I could be wrong though. I really want to show you a couple PSA 2s I got recently. Yep. I mean, we were surprised when one that we assessed as an 8 because of an obvious whitened edge ended up coming back as a 10. That was really interesting. TCG Trader Trucker, thanks so much for the follow. All right. So again, these ones are going to be pretty quick because these are modern. So again, the big things that we're looking for modern are centering, whitened corners, and surface scratches. Those are like the big 3 that we tend to look for. So the centering on the front of this looks really good. So that is some of the whitened edges right here on that top left. I don't know if that's because of the shine of the camera or what, but if that is, that'd probably get like a 9. So normally for me, like a good rule of thumb, there are very few exceptions in terms of modern, but if it won't get a 10, it's probably not worth grading overall. So next, got a full art here. So the centering on this, because again, we can only really look at the centering. It's the same thing for the Umbreon VMAX or the Moonbreon or the Moon Kitty or whatever you guys want to call it. You really can only look at on the left and the right. The centering of that actually looks pretty good. So let's flip it over. But yeah, I think the last one previously I think was a whitened edge because this one doesn't look as bad. This one actually might be worth grading, depending on if there's anything else that I can see, but I can't see any like major flaws or anything like that. So that one might actually be good. So, all right. So next up is Jalen Super Saiyan with a 5. With a 5 card submission. So normally, based off of some feedback that I've gotten, per person, per stream, I grade up to 5, or assess up to 5 cards. So this one's nice little spread too, which is kind of cool. So let me get Super Saiyans queued up here. Some really cool. I've never seen this Survivor art before, if I'm going to be honest. Looks really cool with the Zigzagoon in the background. Or what appears to be a Zigzagoon. Alright, so boom, boom. Get this in frame. Let me make sure I am caught up with chat. Let's see. Phoenix, thanks so much for the follow. Thoughts on movie promo Ancient Mew? There's definitely a lot of them. I think it's a really cool looking card, but remember, promos were like printed into the absolute ground. I just don't know on the top of my head what they get as like PSA 10s or whatever. I mean, obviously PSA 10s is what people want to look for, but they were a promo, they were printed en masse. I have the Umbreon V if you want to look at it. Yeah, I mean, definitely. And then that's actually a good point because I said I was going to. So for those of you who are coming into here or wondering how to submit your cards for grade review, I do have a pinned video on my channel. So the thumbnail looks just like this, what you're seeing on screen. It's called Grade Review and How To. It's about a 45-second video. It'll teach you everything you need to know about how to submit, where to submit, and what are the criteria for submission. Again, it's a completely free service. There's no, I'm not asking for any money or anything like that. It's completely free. It's a thing that I'm trying to provide to the community. So give that a watch. It'll give you everything you need to know. And then we'll kind of go from there. But yeah. Let me just catch up here. Nit, are damaged cards worth grading? It all depends. It all depends on... I covered a pretty extensively yesterday about card investing. I'm gonna hopefully have that out hopefully by next week to kind of give you a better a longer answer to that, but in general, it really depends on what you're trying to do with the card. So if you're trying to sell it, you know, you have to calculate things like your initial purchase price, what grade you think it's going to get, if you think it's going to get that grade, how much does it cost, or how much does it sell for. It's very hard to, I'm not trying to dodge your question, but it's a very hard question to answer because there are so many variables that I just simply don't know about your situation. But yeah, like what Wicked said, at the end of the day, there's always a market for stuff. It just depends on what you're trying to get out of it. How long is the wait if we submitted cards for review today? I'm gonna be honest, you're probably not gonna see your cards today. If you were to submit today. We have a pretty long queue because again, this is completely free and it's a pretty popular service. Hopefully I can like restructure it a little bit as I move forward to this and kind of gauge popularity of this service. But Knit Hunter, thanks so much for the follow, and Wicked, thanks so much for sharing the live. Appreciate you. So you notify the people when you grade their cards. Yes, I do it before I stream, and then I do it after. Before meeting, I'm going to review your card at this time, and then after, you'll see a YouTube. If you're in the Discord, you'll see a YouTube notification when the VOD goes live. So you get a notification both times. I have a few Ancient Muse. Yeah, I mean, that's awesome. Manny, thank you for teaching me what centering is. Yeah, I appreciate it, Manny. Yeah, I mean, again, I don't care if people ask the same question like over and over and over again. I'm here to try to educate as much as I can. One of the biggest pet peeves before I kind of go into this new submission by Jalen is I really do not like when people open up a pack and then clickbait you or have like a really flashy price of like, oh, this card is this much as a PSA 10. It's like, well, not every card that comes out of a pack is a PSA 10. And I see it time and time and time again on so many different content creators leading people to believe that that's the case. And I am really here to not have that be the case. I'm here to tell people that if they believe that that's true, I'm here to show why that's not true and what you can do to get better at determining whether or not a card is actually a PSA 10 or not. Because I don't want you guys wasting your money, you know, opening up packs and chasing the hits and chasing the chases and thinking you're going to have a big return on your investment because you're buying all these packs, where in reality, you know, it's still very hard to get a PSA 10, even if you get it out of the, even if it's packed fresh. It's, there's a lot of factors that are out of your control. Of course, Manny. All right, so speaking of pack fresh, this Deoxys is certainly not it. There is a ton of dirt. You can kind of see what I was talking about with the Flareon before. You see a lot of dirt all over this card. Again, most of this can probably get cleaned with a Q-tip and distilled water. But you have to be very careful because there is a lot of it on here. So this one would probably take some time to clean for sure. But I think if Jalen really wanted to submit this card, they would have to take the time to just get rid of that. So hopefully you could, but let's continue on. So we do have some softened, frayed edges. So that's going to be pretty significant, both in the bottom left and the bottom right. But all in all, this card is just extremely dirty, both on the front and the back. You can also see a pretty significant stain in that top right-hand corner as well. And all around the whole outside of the card is frayed beyond belief. As well as sprayed with something. I have no idea what this is. Boom, thanks so much for liking the live. Appreciate it. But yeah, there's a bunch of like spray pattern. There's a bunch of stuff all over this card. Another stain here. I mean, yeah, that just is what it is. One thing I'm actually surprised that I don't see is any significant creases, like down the middle of the card. This looks more, you can kind of, let me just scroll up a little bit so you guys can see what I'm talking about. This isn't really like a crease per se. It's almost like an angled or a very like straight wear and tear almost is the best way I can explain it. So yeah, this one's actually going to be pretty interesting to see what chat thinks about this grade. Because this, so far, out of the ones that we've reviewed tonight, this one is by far the most damaged. Will we see more damage? There are people that we've reviewed before, if you've been here, that are trying to go for the anti-10 or the PSA 1 and determine whether or not it'll even be graded or not. But yeah, so that's the front of the Deoxys again. Very dirty, both on the front and the back. The back even has a pretty big, two big stains on it. The top right one is the most stained. But yeah, poke -1. But yeah. Oh, Poke, thanks so much for the donut. Appreciate you. Always hooking me up with the donuts. I don't have coffee today though. I already drank mine. Yesterday when I drank my coffee, oh my god, I could like not go to sleep. Normally I'm pretty good with caffeine, but man, I was just like tossing and turning. But I also was editing last night, and I hate like getting into a groove or like a motivational groove, and it's like always like so close to when you're about to go to bed. So it's like, okay, I can either continue this momentum and get like 5 hours of sleep, or stop the momentum and actually get adequate sleep. It's such an awful feeling. Awesome, Moonlight. Well, thanks so much for sticking by. I appreciate you. I'll catch you in the next one. I have the card, but beat up as well. Yeah, must be a trend. Travis, thanks so much for the follow. Yeah, Max, the corners are definitely beat. Stay off that tea, man. Yeah, the Tennessee tea is not coming out tonight. Maybe after stream to really put me to sleep. Beth, thanks so much for the follow. Why are sending beat up cards unless they're super old and rare? I mean, honestly, this is just a free service at the end of the day, Kirby. You know, so, and people just kind of want to know. And it gives the people another excuse to kind of show off their collection to a wider audience. But yeah, I mean, there are some people too, like if this really means a lot to them and they want to protect it, they just want to, like, hey, I'm just curious kind of thing. I don't know. I definitely see what you're saying. Like in terms of like return on investment, this probably ain't it, Chief. But the idea is kind of cool, like what Ashley's saying. So, all right. So, chat is saying 3 or lower. And oh, look at that! I get to do the old school AOL AIM chat heart, the less than 3. So, what are we thinking the dirty Deoxys is gonna get? It's dirty, for sure. Dirty and beat up on especially the edges. The front and the back, very stained. I mean, it's pretty obvious. I don't even, like, if I were to highlight it, I'd be here for like a half an hour critiquing everything. It's pretty dirty, pretty frayed on all 4 corners, all 4 edges, dirt spatter. I think even if you clean this with a Q-tip and distilled water, it's still not really gonna push it up any higher. I think if there was any creases or significant creases, it's probably even get a 2. But I think in my opinion, it'd probably get a 3. But damn, that is a dirty card. That is a dirty, dirty card. But that's the movie promo, right? I'm honestly not too sure. I really don't know. Max, yeah, if you go back to some of my videos, we looked at a Swamper EX that I think as a whole we assessed as a PSA 1. When I review cards like this, that's the Swamper EX is like, that's my definition of a 1. For sure. But if you want to look, you kind of have to scroll back a little bit, but it's the Swamper EX. It was actually the first card that we looked at that someone was trying to submit as a PSA 1. But that one's like my baseline for a PSA 1. But right, Wicked, yeah, that one was crazy. Yeah, I still couldn't believe it. Like, it looked like someone like folded it in their pocket and put it in their wallet. It was pretty nutty. RQ, thanks so much for the ice cream cones again. I don't know how I missed that, but thank you if you're still in here. Seeing as though it's what, 2:30 or almost 3 for you now, or 2 or 3, I have no idea. I keep forgetting what your time zone is. All right, so next up we have the Dark Crobat. Almost 3 a.m. Look at that. I don't know why. Like sometimes, like, do you guys get ever like weirded out or upset that like weird little details you like remember very clearly, but if it's like, hey, like, did you remember your wallet or your phone? And you just like can't remember. But it's like, oh, I remember this one person in my stream 3 weeks ago really loves bread ends, or oh, RQ, I remember a week or 2 ago stayed up till like 4 or 5 a.m. watching my stream. It's like, why do I remember that, but I can't remember like where I put my phone or my keys? It's just funny. Do you have to pay a membership fee to PSA to grade cards? You do not. If you want better deals or if you want access to their quarterly specials, you do. You have to have a Collectors Club membership. I think it's $99 annually. I personally buy it because I just grade at such a high volume of cards normally, and it ends up kind of paying for itself in the end. But you have to submit a lot of cards for it to be worthwhile. But 150, yeah, because I think the last time I bought it was 99. They might have upped their price since I bought it last, which was last year. But I remember it was 99 when I bought it. But like you're saying, if they went up in price, then that makes sense. I know, whatever your brain finds interesting. Is 200 enough? You just have to do the math. I can't do the math because that'd be really kind of like not fun for stream for me to do the math on if it's worth it. But just compare it to what you would have to submit if you didn't have the membership, and then that's the best way that I would recommend. Okay, let's see. So Dark Crobat, probably one of the coolest Crobat. Well, no, there's another Crobat that I really like. That's like the OG one when it first released. That one, I can't remember if that's Neo Genesis or Revelation. I can't remember. Or Destiny. I have no idea. But that one's probably my favorite one. But Dark Crobat nonetheless. Let's see. Looks a little thicker on that left side than it does on the right. So centering is going to be a little off. As well as the bottom, potentially. The bottom looks a little bit off-center than the top. Have some dirt or something there with the tip of my mouse. Let's see. Maybe slightly curled edges, but I don't think it's bad enough. That was one of the things I noticed with when I looked back at the video for the Regice. Those curled corners really didn't matter at the end of the day. Maybe a scratch here, but that might just be the artwork. Again, the angle of this picture makes it a little bit tougher to see any scratches on the hollow, so we have to kind of take it at face value and assume that there's no hollow scratches, but I think realistically, if we had more angles of the picture, we could probably see some. But let's see. More noticeable issues on the back for sure. Whitened edges on the top, as well as the top left and the top right corners. We do have a small dent, very, very small dent on that back part right where the tip of my mouse is. Looks like a little bit of a dent there. Have some scratches towards the bottom left. And as we kind of go past this halfway line down the middle, if we go to the lower half, you're definitely seeing a lot of whitening on the corners and edges, as well as the surface. You have some scratches and dings there. You have some scratches and dings in the bottom right. So we're starting to notice, and even in this whole right side too, you can kind of see the corner of that's pretty beat up. That right edge pretty beat. So yeah, the front, that's why I'm kind of led to believe that there's probably more scratches on here than meets the eye, but we're not going to critique it that much. But the back we certainly can. So let me start a new poll for the Dark Crobat. So that should be live now. Again, there's the front. Really the only thing, again, that I saw on the front was just the centering. And if we flip it on the back is where most of that issue is going to come up. The small dent there, some whitening on the top and the left and the right and the bottom and the top. Some surface wear. We got a lot going on. For sure. Got a lot going on. Alright, so while you guys are voting, that should be, if you want to vote, that poll should be in the top left-hand corner of your device. If you want to vote in there. So that way I can average it at the end and put it in the chat grade. Okay. Yes, I found out when I had to renew. Oh, gotcha. Wicked, that makes sense. Love takes you a lot of places. Let's see. But moved to Europe because of my lady, so basically... Oh, that's... Look at that! R-Cube romantic. Wow. We can learn a thing or two from R-Cube. Would never thought I would be here, but here I am. You should submit that to Disney, see if they can make a Disney movie out of it, out of your experience. But that's always cool. Gabriel, thanks so much for sharing the live. And yeah, for those of you who have shared and liked and followed the live, definitely appreciate it. definitely means a lot that you guys like this stuff. So definitely does not go unnoticed. All right, chat, what are we thinking? 7 or 6? Almost unanimous in the poll. So chat is thinking the Dark Crobat would get a 7 or 6. So again, we have to only take this at really face value, right? So especially the front side. So the front side, really the big things that I can see for the Crobat, the centering is really the big thing that stands out. But again, with this angle, we really can't see any scratches. So we have to like soft assume there isn't any, but realistically there probably is. But that's besides the point. So really the only thing is the centering on the front. The back, however, is where most of what we're seeing is causing some issues. So a lot of whitening on this right side, as well as the bottom right and bottom left have some surface scratches, surface wear, a small dent where the tip of my mouse is. Yeah, just a lot of whitening on this edge, as well as some surface issues as well. So I don't know. I'm probably thinking like the dent isn't that bad, and the hollow again is supposed to be like really good. I would probably say just from like how bad the whitening is on this right side, as well as the surface issues. Me personally, I don't know if I'm just like being like too aggressive with my grading, just based off of the like the Regice and the red, like the Regirock and all that. I'm thinking 5, but who knows? Maybe I'm like -1 in the wrong direction every time. But again, based off of just the one picture on the front and the back, that's kind of what I'm thinking. But back leads to believe the front. Yeah, exactly, Kevin. That's kind of where I'm going at it. Is like if the back is like that, surely the front has to as well. But a good binder card nonetheless, because it's the more the damage is present on the back than it is the front. But if it's in the binder and never sees the light of the back never sees the light of day, then there you go. You're looking good. All right, so next up we have the Survivor. So honestly, like I said, this is the first time I've ever seen this artwork, and as you can kind of tell in the bottom left, that they were still doing the first edition stamp. So that's really cool. So this is a first edition Survivor, all the way back from 2003, which is really cool. And of course, I hover over to 2003, you can kind of see a crease here. So that's not good, but super cool artwork. Again, I've never seen this artwork before, and it looks absolutely stunning. It's super cool. Okay, centering's pretty good. We do have some edge wear that we cannot ignore. Some right here, and some, again, more like silvering on that top part. Left edge looks good. Bottom looks good. We do see that crease. I'm interested to see if we see it on the back, where right above where my mouse is, if you guys can see that on stream. Maybe a little something in that bottom right, but again, we'll probably know more when we flip it over. The hollow looks to be good, so let's flip it on over. And yeah, you can definitely see some more curled edges on the back than you could on the front. That's the big thing I've noticed with Jalen's submission, is most of the damage and issues are on the back more so than the card. But again, it might just be the angle of the picture and all that stuff. So we have to obviously consider all that. So yeah, we have some edges issues here on the top left, the top right. Have some dirt and grime. It's almost like they took this out in elementary playground and just kind of messed with it. But again, that's when they're well loved, and that's when collecting is super cool. When you can hang out as an 8-year-old, hanging out with your friends, showing off your cards is super cool. Drop all y'all. Thanks so much for the follow. Let's see. Bottom left, to definitely see some more frayed corners there as well. And a little bit more on that right side too, but really the big one is that bottom left, and top right. Like the top left and the top right are essentially almost look like they're peeling, almost like a sticker. But the surface on the back, honestly, not too bad. It's just those corners that are really taking this card back for a loop. What's going on? We are actually doing a grade review for community members who will submit their cards to our Discord, and we review them for free on our live stream, just to kind of give you a general sense of like what I like to look for, what chat likes to look for. when assessing cards. So if you don't know, or if you're new to grading, or you just want to know what it is instead of paying PSA, just have like a general idea. This is kind of a good alternative, and something that I like to offer to the community for free. Okay, so while I catch up with chat, a new poll has started. If you want to weigh in on what you think this Survivor would get, that's about to get absolutely destroyed by this Zangoose, which I was never really a big fan of Survivor, like in the rivalry between the Zangoose and the Survivor. I was always team Zangoose for sure, but yeah. Let's see. So we got 1 vote for 3 or lower. Yeah, if you guys want to vote, it should be active in the top left-hand corner of your device. There should be a poll option. We have 1 for 7 or 6 from Ooze themselves. There we go. And perfect. All right. So chat is thinking again. I don't even have to edit it. 7 or 6. You pushed the wrong. Well, what did you think, Ooze? Thinking 5. Okay, because I think that would have set it to this. Because it was almost, because if you had voted 5, it would have been 50-50. So 6 to 5 is what chat's thinking. So what am I thinking the Survivor would get? So centering's good. There is some like silvering or curledness of these edges on the top. A little dirt there. The big thing that I'm seeing really is this slight crease on that bottom, right below the 2003. But from this angle, the hollow actually looks pretty good. So let's flip it over. The biggest takeaway that I see on this card specifically are these curled edges. The one in the top left and the top right almost looks like a sticker. We do have some surface stains towards that top middle, some really frayed edges on the bottom left and the bottom edge, as well as the bottom right corner, and potentially another crease on this right side as I kind of look at it more in depth. So I would say with the amount of whitening and that slight crease on the front, not too big though, which I think if this was any bigger, I think it would be a 4. But my guess would probably be a 5, would be my guess. So, but again, really cool artwork. First time, me personally, is the first time I've ever seen it. So super cool to see. All right, next up, we got another first edition Vulpix. Super cool. All right, so let's just get right up in it. So let's see. Again, curled edges. Centering is actually pretty good. Some dirt there in the top right. Yeah, a lot of these cards have just been very dirty. We can definitely get those cleaned. But yeah, definitely very orange for sure, Ooze. I actually really like the contrast of the Vulpix. But yeah, these cards have just been dirty, honestly. So let's flip it over. Not as bad edges as the Survivor before, but we are seeing some still on the bottom, which is probably, it's honestly like if you had this in a binder, like a classic schoolyard binder, it's as to be expected in my honest opinion, just because they're top loaded versus side loaded. So you do tend to see a lot of whitening on the bottom more than the top if they were in a binder. So that kind of makes sense for this one. So I'd say just to kind of move things along here, I would probably, like if I were to assess this Vulpix with the slight curled edge in the top left, and just the dirt again, this too would probably, like if we can't clean that dirt, the surface score is going to be pretty impacted, because I'm seeing more dirt on this one than the Survivor for sure. So we have some more towards on the bottom, as well as some on the back. I can't remember where I saw it. Maybe it wasn't on the back, maybe it was just on the front. But Probably anywhere from like a 6 to a 5 would be my guess for the Vulpix. If we can, at least if we can clean the dirt off, it'd probably be a 6. But if we can't, it'd probably be a 5. Would be my guess. And last but not least for Jalen is the Team Rockets Snorlax. Will most modern cards get decent grades? Yes, Jackie. In most cases, unless you like opened up the pack and just threw them down a flight of stairs or something, in most cases, they're going to be in pretty good shape. Hey, Crystal, welcome back. Nice to see you again. Yeah, this Snorlax is really cool. I just love all like the junk pile that it's just laying in. And yeah. Oh, and thanks for the heart me. Appreciate it. Appreciate it very much. Yeah, this Snorlax is awesome for like a non-holo rare. It's probably one of the coolest ones in my opinion. All right, so let us get into it. So the right side is much thicker than the left. I shouldn't say much thicker, like it's night and day, but it's definitely thicker on the right side than it is the left. Let's see. So the top, left, right, and down, there is definitely some white. There's way more whitening on the front of this card than we've seen on other cards previously. So that's a little unfortunate. We have even some surface wear there on that left edge. But yeah, it's pretty much all 4 corners and all 4 edges. There's just whitening all over it. So let's take a look on the back. And we're kind of seeing that too on the back as well. I mean, literally all 4 corners and all 4 edges have degree of whitening. Oh, Crystal, thanks so much for sending the paper crane. Appreciate it. And Gabriel and Smay, thanks so much for the follows. Appreciate it. I bought one of those microscopes with a screen on it. Awesome, Moose. That's awesome to hear. I'm glad it's helpful. Like, it's definitely a little bit of an upfront cost. Like, you know, I will not lie. But for those who have like gone ahead and purchased it for grading, I'm always super happy to hear that it's helping out. So that's awesome. Yeah, we definitely see a lot of stuff with those microscopes that you normally wouldn't see. And again, honestly, it like helps to like save money if you're thinking about grading a card or submitting a card and you notice something that you otherwise wouldn't have and got a bad grade and you're wondering, why did I get that grade? And it just spirals out of control. So yeah, all 4 corners and all 4 edges of this card, both on the front and the back, are pretty rough. I'm not going to lie to you. We also have some chipping there. But yeah, let's see what... So this is, I think, the first non-holo that we are assessing like in depth. Like we just got done with the Vulpix, but I just kind of wanted to speed up a little bit just to make sure that we're moving on. But I'm really curious on what you guys think this Team Rockets Snorlax would get. So there should be a poll in the top left that should be active now. I see a few people voting into it now. So that's the front of the Snorlax, and that is the back of the Snorlax. So curious what you guys think. The front looks great. Yeah, I don't know. There was some stuff that we noticed that, again, it's pretty, you know, you kind of give everyone the benefit of the doubt because you are looking at this through a stream, but we are seeing some whitened edges here. If I kind of hover my mouse, as well as some on that top right side, as well as the bottom, we have some slight chipping on the bottom. We potentially have some surface damage here right above where my mouse is. Yeah, that's what I figured, Chief. I wanted to, because it's tough, right? Because everyone's trying to look at it, and you know, people are seeing stuff that other people don't. So, but yeah, the front and the back, like just to kind of make it easier, kind of look the same for the edges. But yeah, I meant 7 or 6. It's all good, Blissful. I'll add you through. I'll add you to it. Yeah, thanks so much for the follow. Went out to Hibachi today for my birthday. I love the... Oh, that's awesome. Well, happy birthday, Ooze. Hopefully you got the... what's the cool thing that they make there? Is like the onion volcano. So hopefully you got the onion volcano. Hopefully they... and don't they also... What's that thing that they... Was a sake? They squirt in your mouth? They like snipe sake in your mouth? So hopefully you got a mouthful of sake from the chef, just sniping it across. So that's awesome. Well, happy birthday again. Hopefully it was a good one. And, I appreciate you even celebrating your birthday with us. So again, thank you so much. One more year around the sun. Kind of keeping the space theme going here. But yeah, the onion volcano was always so fun. Or when they throw eggs in their hat, that's always cool. I always wonder like how many eggs they can put in their hat. If there's like a little Ratatouille guy just juggling eggs inside of their hat. I have no idea. It was in a little container that looked like a turlet. All right, so chat is thinking 7 or 6. So let's see. So let's find out together, Chief. Let's see. So what do I think this Team Rocket Snorlax non-holo would get? So again, it's a little bit tough to see on screen, but I'll try to do my best to highlight it with the magnifier. So a lot of the edges and corners of this card are pretty dinged. So right off the bat, we're looking at best a 6, but let's kind of keep going. So we see some whitened corners there, some surface blemishes right there where my mouse is, as well as the bottom left corner, bottom right corner. But when we flip it over is really where we kind of see more of the damage, in my honest opinion. We see some pretty significant frayed edges on that top right, that top edge. We do see some bottom left edge wear there. We see some bottom middle, bottom right. So really the big thing from this collection that I'm noticing is that a lot of the edges are pretty rough, which tells me that this was like their actual collection as a kid, which is totally fine. But for grading purposes, we don't hold back for childhood collections, chat. We give it straight around here. So I'm thinking, in all honesty, just for the amount of whitening on those corners, I'd probably say a 5 would be my guess. Because if there was more creases or anything like that, or not a 4, a 5. So if there was more creases or anything like that, I'd probably say a 4. But it's actually pretty good in terms of bends or creases from what I can tell from these pictures, both front and back. But I would probably say that it'd get a 5. But yeah. So yeah, before I move on to the next one, let me just catch up here. How many cards do you review a stream? So normally, Jackie, my baseline is anywhere from 25 to 26 per stream. And then once I kind of get to that point, I kind of assess with chat on like what we want to do. Do we want to play games? Do just chatting? Look at prices or continue with grade review? So it really just depends at the end. But I try to do at least 25 or 26 a stream. Yen, are you grading for a company or just for educational purposes? So this is just a free service that I offer to the community. And actually, if for those of you who are wondering how to submit your cards, I have a picture on screen of a screenshot of the thumbnail of a pinned video, that's a mouthful, that's on my channel. So if you want your cards assessed on a stream live, and it's completely free, just give that video a watch. It's about a 45-second video. It's not too long. It'll guide you on how to get to the Discord, how to submit, what channel, as well as some of the prerequisites that you need in order to submit. But yeah, again, it's totally free. It's about a 45-second video. Just give that a watch, and it should answer all the questions you need. But and I appreciate the kind words, Yen. Thanks so much. What's a white Kyurem cracked ice hollow with a serious whitening damage the back of the card's worth? I have no idea. I honestly wouldn't have no idea on the top of my head, Magmar. Yeah, I would say, Jackie, just to be completely transparent, like if any cards are submitted today, most likely they won't be reviewed today. And I'll kind of highlight some new conditions that I kind of learned from the last time I did this that I kind of want to bring up. But yeah. At what point from the edges do flaws start counting as surface damage? It really just kind of like, if it starts to go, like, I guess like a good rule of thumb, and people might differ, is like if it's past like where the border would be, like if it's like more, like if you can see like it present, so like this, for example, this would be an edge wear in my opinion, versus this would be surface, or this would be surface. This would be edge. That would be surface, so that's like a little white dot, even though it's close to the edge. This would be, well, it'd be nice if you saw what I'm talking about, right? All right, so this would be surface. That would be surface. This would be edge, right? So pretty much if you can see, like if there's something around it, like this would be surface, but this is right on that edge, so that'd be edge. This would be surface. That would be edge. This whole top would be edge. This would be surface. This dot. So that's how I do it. Okay, so that was Jalen. So next is Satelier. Probably butchering the hell out of that name, but thank you, Jalen, for the cool submission. Appreciate you. And let me go to Sateller or Satelier. Sateller. I feel like I'm playing Yu-Gi-Oh for Teller Nights. If you guys are, if any Yu-Gi-Oh players out there remember Teller Nights, that was around the era that I played Yu-Gi-Oh competitively. Little background lore of myself. But all right, so this is Satelier. We got some Iron Valiant, and we got a Hitmonlee, so we'll kind of go right through here. Because again, for modern, modern's pretty quick. Centering of this Iron Valiant, it's actually really good. So we'll just kind of flip it over. And then based off of this, that left edge is a little bit thicker than the right. So this may or may not get the 10, depending on if it's, again, it's a little, like from the picture, it looks a little bit blurrier. But I'm not too sure. But if you're looking for a 10, I'm leaning more towards no than yes. But if you have a ruler, I would just measure these edges and make sure that they're as 50-50 as you can get. Another Master Ball 151 Hitmonlee. We've had, I think we've seen 3 or 4 Master Balls of different Pokemon from 151, so that's pretty cool. But I'm thinking that, I don't know if it's just like how the picture was taken, but this right side looks a little bit thicker than that left, but not by much, so that might be within the parameters. Again, I think for both cards that you submitted, I would honestly just take a ruler to them and just kind of line them up and make sure that they're as 50-50 as you can get. And if they are, cool, submit them. But if they're like 55-45, you just have to break down the math if you're using a ruler or if you're using a centering tool. It makes it a little bit easier. That's kind of where I'm at with those two. So yeah, definitely measure the centering on both. Otherwise, I didn't see any whitening on the corners or edges, so that's pretty good. All right, so next up is CL2 7 times 5. All right. Would I know when it would get looked at? Yes, Jackie. So anytime I review anyone's cards, I let them know before stream and I let them know after stream on when the VOD will come up. So you get notified twice. You get notified before and after. Yeah, I'm right there with you, Crystal. I think out of Hitmonchan and Hitmonlee was my favorite out of the two. Even from Hitmontop, Hitmonlee was just sick. Yeah, of course, Jackie. Do you have a video on how to use a grading tool? I bought one, but I'm kind of confused. Yes. It's pretty old, so I'll have to kind of go back. I think if you really kind of dive back a little bit, you'll have to remind me when stream kind of ends, but it's back when I talked about like different tools that I use. I think the series that I started was like tools you need to succeed or something like that. It has like a red backdrop that I have the centering tool and like a platform. It's a really scuffed way of me explaining it, but I have that back there. Lee Chan. Yeah, you know what, Chief? That's actually a pretty good list. That's a pretty good list for sure. Yeah, because Hitmontop was just like I thought it was gonna be so good, but then it just like in the games it always just kind of flopped for me. That's why I've been really enjoying the Pokemon Crystal Nuzlocke. If you guys have been playing that, I find that ROM hack to be really good. It made a lot of improvements on a lot of cards, but yeah, it's been super fun. Yeah, Chief. I've started a I've started a Nuzlocke, but you know, once these grade reviews normally end, I like to kind of leave it up for a vote for chat and like what you guys want to see. I might pick it up on again, like, but I stream 2 days a week and then do more of like spontaneous streams throughout the week. The ones that are scheduled are like non-game related, but I don't know. I kind of want to bring back the Crystal Nuzlocke again because I do a hardcore Crystal Nuzlocke. Those are fun. Emerald Rogue is my current ROM hack. Well, good luck. That one is super hard. Or if you're like the other one that's really hard is what is it? Emerald Kaizo is a super hard ROM hack. That one's crazy. But yeah, I love Nuzlocks. They're so much fun. All right. Review then Nuzstream. Yeah, I mean, if that's what chat wants, I always leave it up to, it's a democracy over here. I always leave it up to chat when the grade reviews are done. Alec, thanks so much for the follow. And that goes for anyone, too, that's liked and shared and followed the stream. Definitely means a lot. I always appreciate the support, so you guys are awesome. All right, so next up we have CL2 7x5. All right, so we have, looks like Korean. A big push, as a side note. A lot of people are starting to buy Korean just for the sake that it's cheaper than Japanese and English for Evolving Skies, because this is the Eevee Heroes. So if you're a collector that just wants to open these products without having to spend an insane amount of money, Korean boxes are actually a really good way of going about it. I know a pretty active member in our community, Betty. We're actually submitting a Umbreon VMAX Korean for grading for her. But she opened it up in a Korean booster pack. You know, it's not that expensive to get the box, so it's really cool. It's a cool opportunity for those who just like the thrill of opening without having to spend an insane amount of money. Okay, so again, modern is going to be pretty quick. Centering on this on the front looks good. This one looks good. I'm thinking like a lot of the white dots on this like right side, I think it's just because of the material that it's being taken out, because I can see like a lot here. So this one might be good. That might be a good 10 candidate. And then the Glaceon, the centering is pretty good. You probably need to get rid of whatever that white dot is, because that will impact your surface score. It might just be an easy dust to get rid of. But that's pretty easy to get rid of and pretty straightforward. And the back, we can probably see that pretty quickly, this white dot here. So if you can get rid of that, that's great, because I think the centering of this is pretty good. Maybe a little bit thicker on the right than the left, but that's more of like a ruler. I would measure that out to see if it's 50-50. But if you can get rid of this white dot, then great. You can probably grade it, but if you can't, then I wouldn't. But this card's pretty inexpensive, depending on what you're trying to do with it. It might not even be worth grading in general. But yeah. So yeah, that is my thoughts for you, CL. So thanks again for your submission. Next, we have Sin. So let me... Ooh, so this one's nice. So this one is a Lugia V. Pretty cool. A little bit sideways, but that's okay. We kind of do one of these bad boys. How do we submit? Yeah, so real quick, the screenshot that you're seeing on stream now, if you look at that pin video, it's about a 45-second video. It'll teach you everything you need to know on like how to get to the Discord, what channel you need to submit, as well as what the requirements are to submit. So definitely give that a look. It's about a 45-second video. Again, this is a completely free service. This isn't paid for at all. This is just for me as a way of, you know, thanking you guys for so much support. This is just a fun way just to kind of review this stuff live, and just kind of give you an idea on what to look for when people do get their cards graded, as well as if you're just curious but don't want to go through the grading process, this is kind of a cool alternative. But yeah. And Betty and Chief, thanks so much for helping out the chat. You guys are awesome. Appreciate it. All right. So again, this is one of two of Sins. So we're going to do one of Sins later on, but this one is on deck. So the centering is actually pretty good on this Lugia. The only thing that I can see, however, and I don't know if you guys can see it on stream, but there is some whitening here that we can probably, at least hopefully, get rid of to improve that surface score. We also have one potentially here, as well as here where my mouse is pointing. But those tend to be pretty easy to get rid of. But on the back, we can kind of zoom in a little bit more. Let's take a look. So we are seeing, honestly, we are seeing some slight surface wear. I don't know if you guys, can you guys see that on stream? Maybe let me even just, because I think it's important to kind of highlight. Let me just kind of bring it down a little bit. So if you get, I don't know if you guys can see that, like in the zoom, that this does appear to have some surface wear. I don't know if that's because of how it came in and out of the pack or whatnot. But yeah, I don't know if that is because of that or not, but that will impact the surface score overall. But the corner, everything else is really good, but unfortunately I don't think it would get the 10 because of that surface issue. Wicked printing error. Yeah, it could be. Especially since it's on the top, right? So like you have to assume, right? Like what would be the worst case scenario, right? This person hopefully puts it in a sleeve or in a binder. And normally you don't really see issues towards the bottom or the sides, like if it's a side loaded binder or a bottom loaded binder, but we're really kind of seeing it on the top. So Wicked, I think you're probably correct in that this might be more printing issue than anything, but because of that, I don't know if that would get the 10, only because this would be impacting the surface score. Because if we can see it on stream by one picture, then it's kind of rough, unfortunately. But sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but as a 10, I probably don't think so. But anyway, before I move on here, I'm going to catch up here. Have we reached a point where anything less than a 10 is better off raw as far as value? There are some exceptions, EJ. I think more so with like vintage instead of modern. I haven't personally seen any where, you know, a PSA 8 or a 9 has far surpassed the cost of the raw. Like granted, like a PSA 9 will be a little bit more than the raw, but you also have to factor in the cost of grading the card and the cost of shipping it and all that stuff. That also kind of makes an impact of the overall cost. So I don't know. I think really vintage is really kind of where those exceptions start to shine. Like some 8s or 7s even might be worth grading. Like for me, like I don't think I have ever submitted a card from like a return on investment perspective that I didn't think would get at least a 7. Because everything else, if it does, I just end up cracking it open and just selling it as like, so if, for example, if I ever got a card that was a 6, I would just crack it and just sell it as light play. Just as an example. But cool. All right. So Sin, thank you for that one. I know you have another one coming up later, but yeah. So let me queue up. We have the Ashura. Got some coming up here. So let me just open up the browser here. Got got a lot of Caesars in this one. And as well as one card that is becoming kind of like almost like a runner-up to the Moonbryon VMAX in my opinion, which is the Gengar VMAX. This card has been seeing a lot of popularity with a lot of collectors kind of shifting their focus over to Fusion Strike. This card is extremely popular. So I'm super excited to go over that. So let me clear that out. So yeah, let us start off with, I think this is the second Sylveon EX that we've covered from the Radiant Collection, I'm pretty sure. But I always like the Radiant Collection cards, especially with like the little charms on the sides. I thought were like a really cool touch. I got lucky with this one. I found it at a mall. Is this your submission, Ben? Just out of curiosity. Because we have the Sylveon, the Scyther, the Mega Caesar EX, and then the Gengar VMAX. No, it's not okay. But yeah, this one, I always like these. These always look so nice. Okay, so let us take a look. Let me just zoom in here a little bit. Make it a little bit easier for you guys to see. Perfect. Okay. So, I will say that the bottom is much thicker than the top. It might be a little bit hard to see on stream, but let me kind of zoom in. So you kind of see this bottom is a bit thicker than it is on the top. So there is some centering. We also have some like weird, but very slight. We have a print line right here almost. You can kind of see kind of going across the ear, as well as some very mild surface abrasion, but got some more scratches there too. But all in all, not too bad. We have some scratches there too. So let's flip it over. Yeah, honestly, like, it definitely could be a lot worse. For sure. The surface on, like, the edges look pretty decent. Corners look pretty good. There is some mild surface abrasion on that left side. Roar at the door. Thanks so much for the heart. Appreciate you. Some whitening in the bottom left. So maybe that's something that can be probably cleaned. That really, really small dot there, but not too bad. So yeah, let me run the poll. So that should be active now if you want to weigh in on what you think the Sylveon EX would get. So again, if you've never used that feature before, because I had to be taught, it should be in the top left-hand corner of your device to be able to weigh in on what you think this card would get. LJ Swag, thanks so much for the follow. Appreciate it. Jay Christ is in the stream. Welcome, Jay. And IDK followed the live. Appreciate it. Appreciate you guys very much. The support really does mean a lot to me. So, I don't want to sound like a broken record. I say that all the time. Yeah, SOP, I was seeing that too. If you're talking about the bottom, this bottom is much thicker than it is on the top for sure. RQ, thanks so much for sharing the live. Appreciate you guys very much. Yeah, I definitely saw the centering off as well, if this was what you're referring to. All right, so chat, on average, you guys are thinking 7 or 6. Alrighty then, so, SOP, thanks so much for the follow. Thanks so much. Alright, so, what am I thinking the Sylveon would get? So, centering is like we just talked about, on the bottom is much thicker than it is on the top. The left and right actually look pretty decent. Really the thing that I'm seeing from this angle specifically is some small surface abrasions, so where the tip of my mouse is, as well as some, it looks like a print line because it's very straight right across the ear there, as well as some little dots and specks. You can kind of see where I'm kind of highlighting my mouse, but not too bad. So let's flip it over. And as we kind of look, we do see some mild surface issues. Again, I don't know if these can be wiped off. These are just little fuzzies or not. I'm not too sure. So we have to keep that in mind. We have 1, 2, 3 there. But as we kind of go more towards the bottom, we have some whitening on that bottom left corner. But all in all, that's really the only thing that I see for white, because I think the whitening here, that might be because of what is underneath. It's kind of giving that like illusion of whitening, but I'm not too sure. But the one I can see is that bottom left, would be my guess. So I think with the centering, the mild print line, some surface issues, but not too bad. And if these are surface issues, these 3, I'd probably say a 7. But if these can get cleaned, you're probably looking at an 8. But again, I have to kind of take it as is. So I'm probably thinking a 7 would be my guess. Hey, Danger, how's it going? Welcome back. Nice to see you again. All right, on to the next one. We got a Japanese Scyther. It's pretty decent. Exactly, Zen. It is pretty decent. Whoa. We are we get a little carried away there on that back part. All right. So, next up is the Japanese Scyther from Jungle. I know I kind of took the cat out of the bag there for a second. All right. So Scyther. I kind of have to like go back a little bit. Here we go. Because the centering, it almost looks like the centering on this right side is a little bit thicker than that left. We do have some slight silvering on the top. Not too bad though. Corners look good. No scratches on the text. We are seeing obviously some scratches on the hollow. This one's kind of like, I will not lie, these scratches by the scythe kind of look cool in a weird way. It almost looks like the scythe is like what's causing like these swoops effects. So I guess that's like a glass half full approach. If you're upset with the scratches on this card, you can pretend that the scyther is the one causing these scratches. You kind of think about it that way. But yeah, we have some surface wear here as well towards that right side that I didn't quite catch until I kind of highlighted over here. But yeah, let's flip it over. And unfortunately, this is where most of the issues are probably going to be. Yeah, you kind of see a lot of surface scratches. It's probably, if I were to guess, this card probably wasn't ever in a sleeve, but was probably in a binder just from like going in and out so many times. So that's probably why there's so many on the back. But that's what I'm thinking, Jay, too. I'm thinking it was probably just from like an old binder that, you know, I mean, I was like that as a kid. I never even knew what sleeves were until much later. I had no idea. I think the first time I ever knew about sleeves was when I was in like middle school or high school when I started playing Yu-Gi-Oh! And one of my friends had like sick gold sleeves that were like oversized beyond belief, but I thought it looked so cool that you could like put a card in a sleeve. But yeah, as a kid collecting Pokemon, I never had them in a sleeve. I always just had them in like a loose standard sports card binder or whatever. But anyway, some surface issues. Definitely some edge wear, corner wear. I mean, that's pretty much all over the card. So yeah, let me launch that poll. So as you guys are running that poll, I'm going to be right back. I'm just going to get a glass of water. Be right back. So the poll is live. Should be in the top left-hand corner of the screen if you want to weigh in. So that's the front of the Scyther. Let me just kind of zoom in here real quick. So there's the front, and then here is the back. So I'll be right back. I'm just going to get some water real quick. All right, I am back. Hydro homies. If you needed to drink water, that was your time. Jay, thanks so much for the follow. And it looks like people helped you out, Brooks. I appreciate those who did help. And Brooks, thanks so much for the follow. All right, so let's see what chat was thinking. So almost pretty unanimous at this point. Chat was thinking 5-4. So yeah, what am I thinking this Scyther would probably get? I honestly think you guys aren't too far off the mark. The front, you know, even though there are some scratches, based off the back, looks not as bad. But again, there's some silvering up there. There's some scratches all over the foil of this card. So if we flip it over, this is where most of that surface area and surface issues are going to start popping up. I mean, the entire surface of this card is is pretty scratched. Not like beyond belief, because this card was probably stored and and without a sleeve and whatever. So you're gonna see a lot of these scratches naturally all on the surface of the card. But yeah, some surface, some edgeware rather, some corner dings, all that fun stuff. But really the big question is like, do I think it's bad enough to be in like the heavy play category? I'd probably say, I don't know. I think like if there was like some more dings or creases, it'd make it much easier. But just based off of like the amount of surface wear that's also probably on the front of this too, I'd probably have to say a 4 would be my guess. Because I'm assuming that there's probably more that we're not seeing even on here, just based off of the back. But that'd be my guess. Oh right, RQ. Yeah, you're the really nice PSA. I remember that. Oh hey Killja, how's it going? Did you miss anything interesting today? I'm trying to think of like any cool. I mean, we went through the original Eeveelutions, like the Jolteon, Vaporeon, Flareon in the beginning of stream. And then we also Dream Scythe was actually nice enough to share her submissions, like the results of her submissions for like the Regites, the Regirock, the Registeel, Dark Charizard, the Charizard Neo promo, and we weren't too far off the mark. I think at least I was. I can't. Chat was actually right on a few of them, but I think for me, I was like one off in the. So like if I thought it was a 6, it got a 7 kind of thing. So I was wrong in the right direction, I guess, from you getting it graded. So honestly, again, for only having one picture for both the front and the back on a computer screen, we actually did pretty good overall. But yeah. So let me just clear this for the next one. I sent my Shining Mewtwo the other day, so I want to see what you guys think. Oh, that's awesome, Zen. Yeah, looking forward to that for sure. For sure, looking forward. Yeah, we I think like the bigger Mewtwo that we've seen so far was a Mewtwo Gold Star. So it'd be kind of cool to look at the Shining Mewtwo. I think I saw it when I was kind of going through. I do have merch, RQ. I have a few shirts on my website, based around my mascot Eve. So I have 4 total. So there's 3 with my mascot on it, and then 1 with just my logo, edited around my theme, which was cyberspace. So all the themes were kind of based off of that idea of cyberspace. Because again, my business and brand is very influenced on like old school anime, like Toonami especially. So I really am influenced by a lot of that. But I will say though, because I think you live in Europe, I only ship within the US and Canada, unfortunately. So until I get a little bit, things worked out from the selling online perspective, but that's just the only thing that I could say. Oh, it's nice, Killjet. Yeah, I'm glad. Oh, there you go. Then yeah. All right, so Caesar EX. So really beautiful card. And I will say, for those of you who have been in the live streams, talking about Dream Scythe again, they made a really good document on how to spot fakes. And it seems like, for whatever reason, the XYEX era has a lot of fakes that have been coming up that people in the Discord has wanted us to check out. This one I think is legit. Excuse me, I was just drinking water. Just from the front and the back, so that's good. But for whatever reason, the old EXs, or the older EXs from like X and Y, tend to be faked more, which is interesting, just based off of what we've seen. But anyway, centering actually looks pretty decent on this. Both the top left and the bottom right look good. Based off the picture, I'm not really seeing anything major, so we'll just kind of flip it over. The only thing I see actually is a pretty clean card. Just these white dots in the bottom left and the bottom right. Sean, thanks so much for the follow. And I think these white edges, I think, are just the binder that's underneath. But actually, I'd probably you know, like kind of the speed of what I do for modern cards, which is pretty good. You know, for this card being 2016, we're starting to get out of the modern. I would say with like the white, I mean, man, just based off of the Mew that we saw, I'm reluctant to call this an 8 anymore. But yeah, you're probably like, you know, 8 or 9. I would want to say 8, but man, I've seen some of these turn into 9, so I have no idea at this point. So probably like 8 or a 9. I would personally say like an 8, but depending on who you're getting, they might not see these as aggressive as me. And there might be some stuff that I did not see, so I'd probably say an 8. But Briggs, thanks so much for the follow. Yeah, RQ, that one specifically I made because I basically, the best way I can explain it is I definitely know my clientele. That's for sure. I definitely know my clientele, so that was one of the main reasons why I made that. Okay, so let me zoom into the next one. Dawson, if you see, so it should be on your screen now, and this goes for anyone. It's a 45-second video. It's pinned. It's pinned on my channel. It's a 45-second video, not too bad. It's a completely free service. It'll tell you how to submit to the Discord, what channel, what the prerequisites are. It's again, a completely free service, and we just do a free grade review of your cards, and kind of give you our opinion on what we think they'll get. I'm not telling anyone, RQ. I'm not telling anyone anything. So, yeah. Alright, so another Caesar EX. Let's take a look. Yeah, centering's not too bad. From what I can tell, pretty good. It's a textured card, so it's definitely real. Yeah, let's just flip it over. Again, like a really good, like the other one is actually pretty good. Not seeing a lot of issues with the surface. Really the only thing I see here is like the scratch here, on that right edge. Coco, thanks so much for the follow. Let's see. We do have some like weird little like spray. I think that's probably like by the printing process, almost like what the Mewtwo GX, the tube, alt art kind of has that in the bottom right. But the bottom left, those are the only like few dots that I kind of see here. But yeah, not too bad. So I'd say probably, you know, kind of continuing on, like almost applying like the modern speed that that we normally do, which is a good thing for this card specifically. I'd probably say an 8 on here as well. Because really the only thing I see is it's very mild, like the light is really what's making that like more noticeable, and like the few white dots in the bottom left, but other than that, it looks pretty good. Alright, so now, next is the Gengar VMAX. So hopefully this doesn't suffer the same fate as the Lugia V did. So let's take a look. Oh. My cat decided to join. She's currently helping me with grade review. Ah, little miss. You guys can't see her, but she's literally right next to me, hanging like plopped on my arm. So apparently she's gonna be helping. All right. Okay. So Gengar VMAX, again, a very like rising in popularity more so recently. It's a very popular card, but a lot of people are starting to shift their focus to Fusion Strike, and this is one of the big chases of that set. So it's definitely going up there in price for sure. Okay. So first, the centering on the left and right. So looks, whoa, a little bit too much zoomed in there. Basically, it seemed like we were getting sucked in there. Centering on the left and the right is actually pretty good. The only thing that I see is this probably get cleaned, but those need to be cleaned off for sure if you want the surface to not be impacted. So let's flip it over. And let's see. So So we do have some little fuzzies. Again, you'll have to get these cleaned or removed if possible. We have one there, a few here. I don't know what these are. I don't think that's part of the card, but there's a lot of like little white speckles all around. The good thing though, compared to that Lugia V, and let me kind of zoom out here just so you guys can see what I'm talking about. So the Lugia V that we looked at before had a bunch of like surface abrasions, almost like from the pack itself, but this one does not have that same fate, which is good. But other than that, like if you can get rid of these little white specks on both the front on this bottom left corner, as well as the the left edge, if you can kind of get rid of some of these, you're actually looking in a pretty good position for this to be a possible 10, which is pretty big for this card, all things considered, because this card in a 10 is pretty up there for sure. So thank you, Ashura. Man, that was a lot. I mean, it was only 5 for Ashura, but that was a pretty interesting run. How do you clean them without damage? Yeah, well, exactly what Glob's saying. If you just have like a microfiber cloth, like the same cloth, like if you bought a pair of glasses, normally comes with them. That's like the best way to explain it. If you just like very gently kind of wipe off some of those, they can come off pretty easily. But that's really the best way that you can get rid of them, in my opinion, and like what Glob said too. All right, so I know Apple Juice is really, really eager for us to look at his Moonbryon, and I'm sure chat is as well. So this is probably the 4th one that we've looked at. Oh, just in time, Chris. Just in time. Okay. So yeah, Apple, if you are in here, now your Moon Kitty is out. There we go. Perfect. All right, so before I review this, I'm just going to catch up with chat real quick. Best top loaders to use to submit cards to PSA. So the big thing that you're looking for are semi-rigid. I use Card Saver Golds. No particular reason, because I don't ask for them back. They just are a little bit cheaper, and I've never had problems with them. But yeah, you want to look for semi-rigid. You can't use standard top loaders. I want to learn how to collect cards. The only experience I have in Pokemon is Pokemon Go. Honestly, Drew, the biggest, like, the number one rule that I think applies to a lot of spots, because we actually yesterday we talked about investing, like cards and stocks, and like when someone says that they're investing in Pokemon, what does that really mean at the end of the day? So that video should be out hopefully by next week. So it'll give a little bit more context on what I'm about to say. But as a whole, you know, collect what you want to collect, right? Collect things that draw your eye. Maybe you are into Eeveelutions like Umbreons, Espeons. Maybe you're into Golurks, or maybe you're into, I don't know, Slowpokes. Be a Slowpoke collector or whatever. It's really just what you like to collect at the end of the day. Don't let anyone try to sway you on, you know, like buy this, like those people on, you know, standard cable television telling you to buy this stock because it's going to go up in price and it's going to make you a fortune, whatever. Like at the end of the day, just keep it simple, collect stuff you like to collect, and that's pretty much it. You know what I mean? And honestly, like that was the point I made, is like if you like some of the best investors from Pokemon that I've ever come into contact with, like their primary focus is just collecting, because they aren't obsessing over the market. They're not obsessing over market trends. They don't let fear of missing out dictate what is in their collection. So if you're a collector at heart, you know, and if your collection goals change, or you're satisfied with what you've done and you want to move on to something else, and you want to have your previous collection go towards or fund the next collection, then that's when your quote unquote like long-term investment really kicks in, because you weren't worried about like day trading cards essentially. I just heard something about TikTok getting banned. There's definitely, like, I'm not going to make it like all political or whatever. There's definitely some talk. That's why I'm trying to ask so many people to like join the Discord, and that's a good reason, just in case if anything happens. But there's a lot more to it than that. But it's we'll see. You know, I'm not gonna change how I do my content until like a definitive answer is said. So I'm just gonna keep doing it as though nothing's happened. You know. Yeah. So Brooks, I'll actually go over that right now. All right. So The Umbreon VMAX from Evolving Skies. Everyone knows this card. So the first thing that we're going to look at, so to kind of answer Brooks's question, is how do we look at centering? So the first thing that I can tell right away, and again, I'm going to try to be as transparent and as honest as I can be, is this right side looks a little bit thicker than the left. Just based off of what I'm seeing. And so if I take, because I have a ruler, I've mentioned this before, I have a ruler that I actually put on the screen that you guys can't see, but I can. So on the right side, it's about a 1/4 inch, just based off of like how zoomed in it is on my screen. It's about a 1/4 inch on the left. On the right, but on the left, it's just shy of a 1/4 inch. So it's a little bit thicker on the right than it is on the left. So we do have that kind of going against you a little bit. But other than that, there's no major flaws that I see. Normally, you can kind of see them more so in the darker areas of this card, like on the Umbreon specifically, or in like the towers or anything like that. So let's flip it over. And let me measure that right and left one more time on the back as well. So you're just at a 1/4 of an inch on the right, and then you are, I'd say, about a 1/4 inch on the left as well. Maybe a little bit thicker on the left, but like again, I'm literally putting a ruler onto my monitor, so there is a little bit of wiggle room that you have to consider. But the centering overall looks pretty decent, from what I can tell. But yeah, I would say, hold on. I want to know if this is just on my, okay. So I was seeing something on my monitor that I thought was on your card, which is good. I don't know what that is. That might be a little white dust on the red part of the Pokeball. But that's about it. You just have some like little hairs to get rid of, but not too bad. But I would say the only thing, like if this got a 9, which I probably, like in my opinion, it probably would get a 9, only because of the front part of the centering. Because I also have submitted one or two that was kind of like this, similar, that also got 9s, because of one of these sides was a little bit thicker than the left or the right. So I mean, depending on what your goal is to get this card graded, it might just be worth it, just because if you want to collect it, you just want it graded, I mean, cool, like just do it anyway. But I probably would think a 9 would be my opinion. But yeah. Let's see. Yeah, the back was super clean, Alec, for sure. Moonbreon always so expensive. I think the Moonbreon, when it first came out, was around like 250. Like 250, 275. That's when I bought mine. Because when they started to jump from like 200 to 250, I was like, I'm going to buy I think I bought like 3 or 4 at the time. And then when I sold them to get capital for my business, everyone was flaming me. And I think I sold them for like 1,100 back then. That was like when it was like at its peak. I feel like PSA is harder on the bigger cards. Yeah, I mean, it just depends, Glob. It's always so hard. That's why I think it's super important to always like assess what you think the card's going to get before it goes into PSA, as well as using really good tools like centering tools. Like I use a microscope with looking for imperfections, just so you don't get caught off guard. But yeah, like I've looked at this before. I think there was 10 chat for those of you who remember. I think it was we looked at 10,000 or 14,000 copies of this card have been graded, and 81% of them have come back as 10s. So the likelihood of this card of getting a 10 is roughly 80 or 81% based off of the data. So it's not like this is a low supply. Really, the big thing that sets it apart is what's available in that supply. Like how many people are actually keeping it for their personal collection, or how many people are grading this stuff just to sell it. But that's about it. Don't tread. What's the Discord? So if you just watch this pinned video on my channel, the thumbnail is called Grade Review and How To. Give that a watch. It's about a 45-second video. It'll teach you everything you need to know on how to get into the Discord, what channel to submit, and what are the prerequisites to submit. It's a completely free service. So yeah, definitely check that video out. Again, it's called Grade Review and How To. It's pinned on my channel. Yeah, of course, Tread. Thanks for asking, because I'm sure you weren't the only one wondering too. Okay, so let's see. Sammy, thanks so much for the follow. I'm just kind of catching up here. Let's see. Super, thanks so much for the follow. Let's see. And Tuna, thanks so much for the follow. And for those of you who have liked and shared that I missed, I definitely appreciate it. Definitely means a lot to get that feedback on if you guys like this style of content. Always means a lot. And I appreciate all the kind words and support so far. So definitely appreciate it. You only paid $12 for the pack. It's crazy that, you know what I mean? It's crazy that those packs even have gone up to that price. You know, because they all started at like $5, but now it's Evolving Skies. Like, people have to remember Evolving Skies is such an anomaly when it comes to like modern product. Do you know how long I have to wait until I can send a picture in for grade review? Yeah, so the threshold, because I have had people like spam an insane amount of cards, so you have to submit up to 6 images per 15 seconds. So for example, if you submitted 4 cards, so it'd be 8 pictures total, right? Like 1 for the front, 1 for the back, all within 15 seconds, you'll get temporarily timed out just due to spam, because just the amount of that people kind of come in and submit and stuff, I have to have some degree of control. So that's the only speculation. There's very few instances where that's actually happened, so I haven't really like talked about it too much. But yeah, the good rule of thumb is submit 6 pictures every 15 seconds. All right, so Apple Juice, thanks again for showing off your Umbreon. So next is Chris from Florida. I'm pretty sure that you were in here not too long ago. I don't know if you're still in here. I thought I saw your name pop up. But we got a current modern chase that people are looking for, which is the Bianca's Devotion. But yeah, let's take a look. All right. Card Hunter, thanks so much for the follow. Let's see. It was only a 2-pack buy. Wow, that's crazy. Congratulations there. I swear, there's just some people that just have the luck, man. I am not a person who gets lucky by opening packs by any means. That's the only reason why I buy singles, is because I've just been burned way too many times. I just don't buy packs anymore. But I opened my first Crown Zenith the other day and got a Zacian V art gallery. Is it good? I mean, if you think it's good, right? Like if you like to collect it, the biggest way that I like to look at, like, I guess, you know what? I just don't know what you define as good. Like if good meaning like a high price, I don't know. Yeah, I'd probably look at TCG Player and look at near mint prices for the card. Is it good in terms of like meta or playing the actual TCG? I have no idea. I don't actually play the game competitively or casually for that matter. So it really just depends on, or if it's worth grading. I don't know what your definition of good is in that instance. I'm not trying to like skirt your question, but there's a lot that goes to it. I consider getting a Bianca. I don't know if it's just gonna wait. So like the big thing that I think of, like I made a video on this a while ago, but at the end of the day, for anything modern, always wait at least 2 weeks. So I kind of like have it like as like a 2-week rule, because you always see cards skyrocket in price when the first week comes out, but then the more people open the product, the more supply is inherently injected into the market. So you see that a lot of people are like, oh, I pulled that really expensive card currently, I'm going to list it on TCG Player or sell it really quick. You tend to notice like a pretty significant dip, and then you just gotta wait. And then you kind of wait until the next set kind of comes out, or like the next set is leaked or released. And I think someone just actually said it before I could, and I'm not cheating off of you. Scrappy. Yeah, so like if a set is leaked or released or announced, people start to draw the hype to the new set, and it kind of draws the initial attention away from that previous set or the current set. You kind of saw that a lot with like the Paldea Evolved and Obsidian Flames. I noticed that the most when the newer sets, especially when 151 was announced. Both of those sets tanked because so many people were so excited about the 151 leaks and releases. But yeah, those sets are starting to go up a little bit. But That's what I've noticed too, Chris. Temporal. I pulled 2 of the ST Lugia alt arts. Should I grade one or both? I mean, again, it just depends on like if you're trying to sell them, right? You just have to see if it's worth the return on investment, right? So if you pull 2, I'm assuming that would be what, $5 a pack. So you bought them for $5 a piece, technically, right? So and then whatever you think it would get graded. You just have to. There's just like a lot. Like it's always so hard for me to answer questions like that because there's so much that I don't know about your current position. Like, are you trying to sell it? Are you trying to, are you trying to have it for your personal collection? There's just so much. There's so many factors that come into play. That's why I'm like trying to think of doing like a almost like a antique roadshow at some point to kind of like really take the time to break that down for some people. Like maybe like, hey, like I have like 1 or 2 or 3 cards. Like, what should I do with them? And then like really take the time to kind of crack that open and really like lean in on what you actually want to do. Tomo, thanks so much for the follow. All right, so let's get into the Celebi. So the first thing that I notice is a slightly thicker on the left side than it is on the right, but not too bad on this left side compared to the right. The other thing I also notice is that there is a slight print line right underneath the wing. So there is that. But other than that, the surface of the card is actually really nice. It's not too bad. But let's flip it over. And as always, the quality of like Japanese is really kind of shining here for you. We do have like a white dot. Maybe I would imagine that could probably get removed only because I see a lot of like little, I'm like doing a grade of your surface here. So you have like these little like white dots. I'm imagining probably just transfer to the card would be my guess. You can probably get rid of that. And then for centering, if you guys have never tried looking at the centering of a back of a Japanese card, I just tend to look at the red. And if it like seems like out of alignment or not centered, that's what I really look for. But the corners and edges of this are extremely well taken care of. Hey Civic, how's it going? Nice to see you. I got an Expedition Hollow Skarmory that I'd love to see you go over. Yeah, of course. Yeah, definitely submit it in the Discord. If you don't know how, just let me know and I'll do my quick speech on how to do it. But yeah, definitely taken well care of for sure. Yeah, so I'd say that this card definitely be above an 8. Or like 8 or higher, I should say. I'd say this probably would get the 8, would be my guess. Just because the centering is like not, it's off center slightly, but not too bad. And the only thing that I see is this slight print line. Because like if you guys even remember the Regice that we looked at like a stream or 2 ago that had a crazy print line that was very predominant on the top, that I thought it was going to get a 6 with some other stuff on the back, but it ended up getting a 7. And so again, learning from our previous submissions, right? So I'm thinking that even though there is that print line there, the back I think is really well taken care of, and the front is really well taken care of. So I'd probably say that this would get an 8, would be my guess. Sure card, yeah. So real quick, yeah. So the biggest thing that you're gonna want to look for is I have it on screen now. Is if you go to my channel for pinned videos, there should be one that says grade review and how to. Just give that a watch. It's about a 45-second video. It'll teach you how to join the Discord, what channel to post in, and then what the requirements are to posting. It's completely free. You don't have to pay for any of it. There is a queue that I go in order for. But yeah, definitely give that a watch. And it should, again, if you have any questions after that, definitely let me know. But that for the most part has helped a majority of the people. So give that a watch for sure. All right. Yeah, of course, card. If you have any other, like I said, if you have any other questions or you're having difficulty, please feel free to let me know. Awesome, Chris. Well, hopefully you don't get hit by any creepers or endermen. So hopefully your base is well protected playing Minecraft. All right, so Bianca's Devotion. So again, modern, we were looking for, again, centering and corners and surface, or print lines rather. So one thing that I'm noticing right off the bat, and I think, Chris, you're already kind of highlighting it, is this right side. So this right side is a little bit thicker than that left. So I don't think it's going to get the 10. But let's take a look. And yeah, I think even this, you kind of see this like white blemish here in the bottom left-hand corner. I think because of that, it's not going to get the 10. So probably like a 9, maybe an 8. But probably like, and you probably get rid of that too. But yeah, if you're looking for the 10, probably not on this Bianca. But again, it's a really big chase currently. So you might like if you're trying to look to like sell it, it might just be in your best interest to sell it raw as near mint, because it is near mint, it's pack fresh, versus trying to get it graded. But again, I don't know your goals, your collection goals, your selling goals. I don't know any of that, but a good rule of thumb is that you'll probably get more selling this at the near mint versus grading it and not having it come back as a 10. Moonlight, thanks so much for the likes. There you go, Chris. And Brooks, thanks so much for the likes. Appreciate it. What's my Discord? So just you should see it on screen. Just watch that pin video, the grade review and how to, and it should give you all the instructions you need. And again, this is a free service. This isn't like you have to pay or anything. But yeah, give that grade review and how to video a watch, and it should help you answer your questions on how to submit and where to submit. All right, so we are up to our final 3 here. So next is Sin again. So one of the gold secret rares. Not too bad. And I didn't actually mark this one as being reviewed today. Let me do that. All right. So next up, we have one of Sin's. So this is the Eternatus V. One of the gold rares. So let's take a look. So the big thing I'm noticing is that the left side is a little bit thicker than the right. So let's flip it on over. We do have some Skittles. Probably, if these are the sour Skittles, these are definitely the best Skittles in my opinion. So we got that going for us. If you guys like any, I think like the other bag of Skittles that I really like are the purple ones, but the green one, the sour Skittles, that's S tier probably. But anyway, let's take a look back at the cards. Let's see. So the right, this is a little bit thicker as well than the left. So I don't think that this would get the 10 that you're probably looking for. I would say maybe a 9, unless this is some dirt or something that you can probably get rid of. If it is dirt, that'd probably get an 8 if you don't remove it. But I think probably a 9. But again, you also have some brilliant stars back there too. Got some brilliant stars and some sour Skittles, so can't complain. All right, so that was Sins. So next up we have Phoenix Star. Let's take a look. Ooh, we got some vintage coming up. That's pretty cool. One of the hardest cards to get graded as a 10. And I don't know. It's a grade 8. And especially if you eat more than like 10 and your mouth just starts to disintegrate, it like the surface wear goes from like an 8 to a 2. The more sour Skittles you eat. Sour Skittles are like sandpaper. But I am going to refill up on my water. So before I start, I will be right back. So just give me 1 second, chat. Don't go anywhere. I'll be right back just getting some water. 1 second. Alright, I am back. Alright, so... the one thing I want to make sure is I don't know... this should be the same Snorlax, I think? So I don't know if it was two different ones or not. I think this is the same one. I'm pretty sure it is. Let's see. Yes, okay, it is. Hey, Stanks, welcome back. Nice seeing you again. What is my favorite Pokemon and favorite shiny Pokemon? So I think for favorite, I'm kind of basic in the sense that I like an Eeveelution. I know, surprising, someone liking another Eeveelution. But hear me out. I was a big fan of Jolteon. But for shiny... my favorite shiny... I'd probably say my favorite shiny would have to be the first one I caught that wasn't a Gyarados, which was a shiny Pineco. That was probably mine. Because I just remember, like, how difficult it was to, like... I never even thought, like, oh, like, shiny Pokemon, those don't exist, because I only saw one as a Gyarados. And, like, years and years and years later, I was like, oh, this Pineco looks sick. Like, meaning, like, it's ill. I was like, no, it's actually a shiny Pokemon. It's like, wow. So Pineco, just for nostalgic sake. And it's crazy because I got in one of my last Pokemon games that I played, like back when, like right before I got the shiny, I got Pokerus faster than I got a shiny Pokemon, which is nuts to me. I honestly thought as a kid, I thought Pokerus was just like those childhood lore or fairy tales or folklores that you'd always hear on the playground, like the Mew behind the truck at the SS Anne. I was like, Pokerus, like, how can Pokemon get viruses and it's a good thing? That doesn't make sense. That's what I'm saying, Chris. Like, I think that's like my favorite shiny, just because like it was such a pivotal moment, like shiny Pokemon, like you just like uncovered them, like you had no idea what you were looking at. Okay, so Snorlax. Let's see. So again, Snorlax is probably one of the most difficult cards to get graded in Jungle alongside with Vaporeon. So we have to be really careful here and really kind of do our due diligence. That was a tongue twister and a half. There is something here that can probably get clean though, where the tip of my mouse is. I don't know what that is, as well as here too. The centering, from what I can tell, it is a little bit bowed, which in most cases doesn't matter in terms of grading, because you can just flatten that out pretty easily. So I'm not going to dock anything from that. And the one thing that I really want to highlight is what I was talking about if you were here in the beginning of stream, while I was going over the Jolteon, Vaporeon, Flareon from Jungle. The biggest thing that was holding it back was the silvering on the edges on the left and the right. But this one is actually in really good condition in the sense that I don't see any silvering, at least from this angle. Again, it is bowed, so the angle of the light might be impacting why we can't see the silvering on these edges, but that is something to at least see that that's good. The hollow on this side looks pretty good. I would say, though, that I don't know if this right here, like between the arm and the head, that might be a thumbprint, would be my guess. But you can probably just get rid of that with a microfiber cloth very gently. That's not too bad. But you also have another picture of a different angle, which is good. So yeah, so I think it was. So here is, it's not nearly as bad, mind you, but you do see some of these silver dots on that right side. So that's what I'm talking about when I talk about silvering. Chris, you mean why is it so hard to get the Snorlax graded? Is that what you're talking about? Let's see. But yeah, other than that, I don't really see much. So let's flip it on over. Yeah, so why it's so hard. So normal types, because of their background, tend to make scratches much more noticeable. So like Chansey is a really hard card to grade. Dragonite from Fossils are really hard card to grade. because of the normal typing and traditionally the lighter background. So Snorlax and Chansey are the worst. Where Dragonite's a little bit easier compared to the 3 because it has that rainbow background. But the normal types make it much harder to grade because of that reason. And then as the Vaporeon, I've kind of said the phrase before, but Vaporeon has what I like to call like a small character to holo ratio, meaning that the Vaporeon itself on the card is so small and the holo all around it covers a majority of the surface. The same thing can be said about Sabrina's Gengar. Sabrina's Gengar is very hard to grade for that reason specifically. The Gengar is super small. The holo is much more predominant on the card than the Gengar itself. In the frame. Cash, thanks so much for sharing the live. The top isn't silver on the back. It's due to lighting. Okay. Yeah, that's what I figured here. I figured that was just lighting, to be honest. Let's see. The left side's actually pretty good. this left side here. There is some whitening on that bottom left. There is some like dust that we can probably get rid of with a microfiber. And then we have a white speck on that edge on that right side. But yeah, not too bad. All in all. Oh, we also have another, I forgot we also have the other picture of the same card. Yeah, just kind of highlighting more of these little white specks that we can probably get rid of. Again, with a microfiber cloth. Francisco, thanks so much for the follow. As well as some whitening on that bottom left. So yeah, or you guys can't see it because it's too zoomed in. Hold on. Let's do this. And highlight what I'm talking about. So that right there, that whitening in the bottom left. So let's start a new poll. So a poll should be active if you want to weigh in on what you think this Snorlax would get. Wi-Fi Chris, thanks so much for the follow. So poll is live. It should be in the top left-hand corner of your device if you want to weigh in. And I just saw a PFP of Tom from MySpace. That's crazy. I don't know who that is, but I appreciate the throwback to MySpace. That's so funny. And then for anyone that has liked and shared, I appreciate it. Tom is everyone's friend, exactly. Even if you make an account, he's right there. He's right there. He's like the true homie. Never leaves your side ever from day one. Always, Tom was always there. But yeah, I definitely appreciate the love. Cash, thanks so much for liking the live. Again, I just like doing this just as a fun thing to provide to the community. Hey, Mexicans, welcome back. Nice to see you. Sorry you just popped in. Nice to see you. Nice to see you. But yeah, the Snorlax, this art was just so nice. Such a huge fan. I was such a huge fan of the jungle stuff. How often do you do this? So welcome, Tomo, first off. I normally do this, I try to stick with a Wednesday schedule from 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern. So I do it once a week. But then I might do, that's why like if you follow the Discord, you'll kind of know when I do more of like spontaneous or kind of like spur of the moment streams. But I stream on Tuesdays from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern, and then Wednesdays from 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern. Yeah. All right. So let me end the poll here. So we actually have a tie. So from 8 to 6. So we got a pretty wide range here. So yeah, what am I thinking that this Snorlax would get? So the centering actually on the front's pretty good, and surprisingly, the scratching on the holo is almost non-existent. From the two angles that you're showing here, let me just kind of zoom in a little bit more so you guys can see on stream. I'm not really seeing anything major. I think a lot of like these little like surface weird stuff that almost looks like oil or something that you can kind of, that may have been like residue from your fingers or from whoever owned this before. So I think if you just kind of take a microfiber cloth and gently kind of rub some of that off, I'm not too worried about that. to be honest. And I don't see any major print lines or scratches, which is huge for this Snorlax. And as for the back, the only thing that I see that can't be dealt with, again, because I saw a little bit of these like white dots that can be rubbed off with a microfiber cloth, in my opinion, is probably just this white speck on the bottom. So in my honest opinion, I think this has a pretty good shot at an 8. Maybe a 9 even if you're lucky, but that's kind of pushing it a little bit if you can't deal with a lot of the stuff like the little imperfections that I was talking about. But I think that'd be a pretty good solid 8. But yeah, exactly what Glob said. If you can just put this in between like some books or take it one step further and put it like between some plexiglass that's not scratched or dinged or anything like that, and kind of clamp it down. That's another alternative too. But yeah, to answer your question, Kyle, that glob helped me out. But yeah, that's normally this stuff is pretty easy to get rid of. Like, and if you don't want to do the clamping, just putting it in a sleeve and just putting it in between some heavy books will do the same thing too. You just want to make sure that you put it in like as much of a dry environment as you can, because obviously humidity is going to impact it to a degree in terms of how fast or how well it actually flattens out. So just keep that in mind too. And I think I saw Cash, yeah, just in case if you didn't see RQ's message, which I appreciate RQ kind of being like a little moderator. I appreciate it. But I have a picture right now of the screenshot of the pin video that I have on my channel. So if you watch that, it's about a 45-second video. It'll teach you everything you need to know about how to join the Discord, what channel to submit, what the requirements are. It's completely free, and that's pretty much it. So yeah, give that video a watch, and you should be good to go. All right, well, welcome back, Ooze. Look at you coming back on your birthday. What's your take on a Q-tip for cleaning? That's what I do, Glob. I use a Q-tip and distilled water. I've had many streams where I've cleaned cards from a collection to get rid of like dirt and grime with a Q-tip and distilled water. So yeah, I definitely approve for sure. Ooze, I'm right there with you. This artwork of this Entei is sick. This looks super cool. So yeah, let's quit yapping and let's review, shall we? Centering looks good. So going back to the Q-tip and water, there's this little black speck, the tip of my mouse towards the top there. You can probably get rid of that with a Q-tip and water. But really not much to say about the front. I don't see any scratches for the holo, which is good. So if I flip it over, the centering is actually really clean on this card. The only things that I'm seeing, honestly, is looks like a hair. They can probably it's either a hair or a scratch. I think just based off of how straight it is, I'm more leaning towards a scratch than a hair. So you have one scratch there. You have a white spot in the top right. Let's see, you do have some slight scratches on the surface, but not too crazy on that backside where I'm kind of highlighting it. Yeah, because it's what, like 430 for you now, RQ? It's a scratch, okay. But other than that, it's a pretty clean card. I don't know if it's like, maybe we can help we can have chat help us out here. I just started a new poll for the Entei guys if you want to take a vote real quick. But yeah, I'm kind of torn. I'm kind of torn between, I don't want to sway the vote. I'm kind of torn to be honest, with like the scratch here, this white mark here, and then this little scratch by the C. But the front looks really good, with the exception of this little like dirt mark. You can probably get cleaned. But Fishy, what do you use to zoom in like that? So what I'm using right now, because I'm using Chrome, it's called Magnifying Glass Hover Zoom. It's a Chrome extension. So there's a dent, I think, on the top right side. A dent on the top right side. I'm not sure if I'm seeing anything, Danny. Like, can you, like, in reference of like the HP or the fire energy or the text, kind of help me out? Zoom in a little bit. Front near the HP. Let's take a look. I'm not seeing it. Maybe it's because of like the saturation of kind of like the darker parts, maybe, that it like kind of looks like a dent on stream. I can kind of see that. Like, it's a little bit darker in certain areas, but lighter in others in that top right. But I personally don't see any. Because again, it might just be because the picture is really high quality and it's a little saturated in a good way. So that might be why. Danny, thanks so much for sharing the live. Appreciate it. Okay, so let me end the poll. So the poll's average is a 9. So let's see. So what do I think this Entei would get? So again, we do have something that we can hopefully clean on that top part, that little black speck. Centering is actually pretty good. And I don't see any scratches on the foil, so let's flip it over. What I am seeing, however, for scratches, again, the centering on this back is actually really good. I do see a scratch here on the top center. I see a slight whitened ding in the top right-hand corner and a very, very small set of scratches on this left center. So 1, 2, but nothing too crazy. So I'm thinking for me, I would probably say an 8. I think the 9 maybe would kind of get held back a little bit, only because of the back, both the scratch here on the top as well as that right side, and some of these very, very slight ones on the surface. But that would be my guess. But yeah, like what Danny's saying, a super nice card. If you're worried about the back, again, a super clean binder card for sure. So yeah, again, thank you Phoenix Star in Discord for sharing that. And I think Zubair, I think that's you, based off of how you're interacting. So I appreciate that very much. Probably about a half an hour, so I'm making my way to the kitchen to make breakfast. Man, yeah, I'd be a zombie right now if I were you. Normally, like, the best way I can explain, like, when I'm super tired is almost like my brain feels cold. That's when I know I'm, like, super tired. Yeah, I don't know how you could stay up that late. Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate you, like, staying up this late, just hanging out with me of all people. But yeah, I'd be like a zombie. I wouldn't even be able to type on my phone like you are. I would have no way of doing it. All right, so now we are kind of in like the bonus section. So normally I stream until 10 o'clock, so that's in 19 minutes. So yeah, I think at this point I'll kind of open it up to either. So we'll do. I think there's a quick poll option. So I'm going to start a quick poll here soon. So the smiley face is continue grade review. The crying is just do a Q&A, talk about market prices, cards, and we can look up card prices live. And we can kind of talk about them. So the quick poll has started. So smiley face is to continue grade review. The crying is going over card prices, talk about market, like what am I looking for, what am I looking at, kind of stuff. So that quick poll should be active now. And it looks pretty unanimous, to be honest. Wicked throwing the curveball, the crying laughing emoji. That's like a hybrid vote. All right. I'll keep doing it. All right. So I will say, so one of the lessons learned when we get to this point, though, is before, when most of you voted to continue the grade review, the chat started to kind of get hijacked with people kind of spamming like me, deal with me next. And I think it kind of made a lot of people that I was noticing upset. So since this is a free service as of now for like this part of it, I'm just going to continue down the line to get to most people as fairly as I can. So I'm going to still adhere to the queue. So if that upsets you or whatever, I apologize. But since this is a free service and I'm doing it in a queue type system, the more I get done in the queue, the faster I will get to yours eventually anyway. Versus just saying like, oh, I'm just going to hit you because you're spamming the chat more, which is going to upset other people. And that's what I was noticing in the last one. So that's how I'm going to kind of handle it. So if it upsets you, I apologize. I feel like that's going to upset the least amount of people because not everyone's going to be happy about it, but that's how I'm going to handle it. So as I get this queued up, let me see even who's next. We got CL. Let's see. Got a pretty interesting... This one's going to be pretty quick because this is just modern. And some of these are actually graded, it looks like. I think this is the first set that is graded for like in the grade review. Now it's going to be interesting. All right, Chris. Well, thanks so much for sticking around as long as you did. Appreciate it. I'll catch you in the next one. It seems like you are around often, so I'm sure I'll see you in the future. Okay, so again, I have to so if you guys have noticed, if you are submitting in the grade review channel in the Discord, I mark the statuses of all the cards with reactions. Just kind of helps me keep track of what I've done, what I haven't done, because you can obviously tell there are a ton of submissions. So the ones that I'm doing now, kind of ad hoc, I have to make sure that I don't essentially double dip in my review. So are these yours, Ooze? These are you. Okay, interesting. All right, so that's kind of cool. That'll be kind of fun. Okay, yeah. So some of them. So I will say that some of these will be pretty difficult based off of the image. So like for example, I don't know if you guys can see it on stream, but for this golem, this is a case. This is the scratch on the case itself because you can kind of see based off of the shadow. At least that's my assumption. So there are going to be some scratches that are either on the card or on the case. So we'll have to. Luckily, Ooze is in here, so we can kind of have them kind of verify what's on the case versus what's on the card. So, but we'll give it our best shot. We'll see, chat. We'll see if we can guess the grade, like actually guess the grade. All right, so dial in, chat. Let us figure it out. All right, so unless that's me zoomed in, yeah, the top's a little bit cut off, but not too bad. I'm gonna assume the centering is good. The front, we have a scratch here in that cloud or rock. Have some scratches here by the left claw. Matt from Palatown, thanks so much for the follow. We do have some scratches by the right foot down in the bottom right. And Brian, thanks so much for the follow. The text looks good. So yeah, the only scratches that I see, and I also see one maybe on the golem's head as well. So we have 1, 2, 3 by the claw, 4, 5 by that right foot, and then 6 by his face. So let's flip it over. Cloud and foot are the only actual scratches on the card. Okay. So cloud and foot. Okay. So going back, so this part across this cloud rock, I don't know what that is, and the foot. So though based off of what Ooze is saying, those are the only 2 scratches on the actual card. Okay. So the back, we have so we have on the top edge, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 little white dots on the top. We have a noticeable whitened corner on the left. May have dust either on the case or on the card by the tip of the P towards the edge there. Let's see. Bottom left, some noticeable edge wear in the corner. The bottom edge looks good with the exception of maybe this on that bottom. The bottom right looks a little bit of whitening, but not much. And so really the only thing that I'm noticing with the exception of this top part is that all four corners are whitened to a degree. Not crazy, but it is noticeable. So okay, chat. So like I said, we obviously see that this is graded. So this is kind of like a fun little game that we're playing, I guess, with Ooze. So I'm going to start a poll. So Ooze, try not to vote. We don't want you to spoil it. But let's see if you guys can think what this, because I honestly have no idea what this grade got. So then the poll should be active now. So again, the only scratches that Ooze said is actually on the card is this cloud on the front. So right here where I'm kind of hovering my mouse, as well as these slight ones that's pretty hard to see, but they are there by the foot of the golem. And then on the back, I'm seeing some whitened corners on all four. So, but yeah, so if you want to vote, that poll should be active. It's in the top left corner of the device if you want to weigh in. So I'll give it a little bit while I drink some water. I like how Ooze is like a mastermind over here, just kind of like sitting in your boss chair, like kind of like tapping your fingers, just waiting for us plebs to vote wrong. That's so funny. Watch it be a 10, Ooze. You're just throwing us for a loop. Name a Pokemon for an edit. Weezing. First Pokemon that literally came to mind. Alright. So the poll is 7-6. Okay, so what do I think this graded golem actually got? Again, a very unique opportunity here. So I think the centering is good. I think the cloud and this foot are the only scratches that I see that are confirmed by Ooze. So if we flip it over, most of the whitening is in all four corners. So I would say, like, really the big thing that I start to look for is, would I consider this card light play in a raw form? And based off of what I'm seeing, I probably would not consider this light play. So I would then bump it up to near mint. So I think for me, based off of what I'm seeing from the front and the back, I'd probably say a 7 would be my guess. So drum roll, please. What are we at, Ooze? What are we thinking? Were we right? Were we wrong? It was a 4. Interesting. So this card got a 4. Yeah, Kyle, I mean, based off of, I can only base our observation of what Ooze is saying, right? Because really the only scratches that we saw that are not on the case is the one by the cloud and then one by the feet, like, but barely on the feet. So it's kind of just tough, right? Because, like, we only see one picture in the other. And then based off of what Ooze is saying with the scratches being on the case. But 4, I don't know. Like, there's got to be something, maybe, like, I don't know. I really have no idea. There's got to be like a crease or like a bend or something, but based off of what I'm seeing, I can't see it. Maybe like in this area, maybe. I'm not too sure. I don't know if that's like lighting though. Like this right here. Like if I'm like now knowing it's a 4, I don't know if that's a crease or not. Or it's just lighting. I really have no idea. Yeah, like Roland's saying, that might be. I don't know. Small bend on the bottom, that's got to be it then. Because to me, that just looks like lighting from like the angle that it's being taken. Because you can kind of see that the shadow is on the left side and the light's from here. kind of like taken from like a diagonal, but yeah, it's probably because it's tough, right? It's tough because it's already cased. But all right, well, that was a 4, huh? All right, so next up, we got the Bruno. So centering looks pretty good on this one. So centering looks good on the front. And again, there's really not much I can tell from scratches wise on that front. So for the back, I don't know if you'll have to kind of help us out here. So I kind of see the kind of like the same. So the right answer was a 4 mobile. The right answer was a PSA 4. Because it looked like that the bend in the bottom right, I thought, to be honest, I thought just from the picture, I already closed it out. From the picture, I thought it was just lighting from the PS, like reflecting back off the PSA case. Kind of similar to this Bruno right here. Like this like light streak. I thought that was just that, but apparently it was a bend. But again, we work with what we got, right? So, but these 3 cards were graded by the same PSA guy. All right, all right. But yeah, I don't know. I would say I don't know what these are. This looks like surface wear, but I don't know if that's on the case or the card. Like at this point, I just have to take your word on it. It's kind of like the same fate as the Lugia had. I don't know if you guys can see that on stream or not. It's on the case? Okay, so if these abrasions are on the case and not on the card... and then I don't know, that looks like a shadow, but I don't know about those little dusties on the top left there. As well as these, I don't know if that's on the case or on the card. I have no idea. So this is on the card. This bottom left is on the card that I'm kind of circling. The bottom one is on the case. So, okay, so the top one is on the card. Got it. So this chat, this is what's actually on the card. The bottom, that's what's on the case. Okay. So. I mean, now I'm afraid. I feel like I'm like going up to the gauntlet. All right, chat. The poll has started if you want to look at this with me again. So so the poll is active, but I'll kind of go over it one more time. Front left margin. This you're thinking, Brian? Because it's so hard, just from like the picture that we have. It's just tough to like know what's just a reflection versus what. Because like maybe that might be it too, Brian. Like you can kind of see like these in a very diagonal pattern, like kind of cutting across, but this one isn't. So that might be a good observation. That's on case. I probably should have cleaned the cases. you definitely throw in. Maybe I'll just do that. If we're wrong, I'll just blame it on how clean your cases are. Oh man. But then this white dot is on the card. But the centering looks good. The corners look good. There is a little bit of white in there too. But I don't know. Chat's leaning more towards 9 currently, which is the leading vote. Huh. Yeah, so chat is thinking 9. Alright. So I can't let the bias of last one affect me on this one. I am kind of siding with Brian, though, a little bit. But you said, hold on, that's on the case. So you said this is on the case. I'm not too sure. Okay, go back to the fundamentals. So centering is good. Edges are good. Corners are good. I think the 4 is throwing me off, yeah. I think so too, Brian, honestly. Better days. Thanks so much for the follow. Centering is good. But I just don't know, like, what these, like, I don't know what's on the case and what's off the case. Or on the card, rather. So they got, like, 1, 2, 3. We got these little, like, white dots on the back. This abrasion's on the case. This is on the case. This is not on the case. I don't know. I would say if those are not... Because, again, those do impact the surface score. And those abrasions are on the case, apparently. Centering is good, though. Centering is good. I would think just because of the... I don't know. I want to say my thing, but when I say it out loud, I don't know if I'm, like, committed to it, you know? Because, like, the big thing that I'm thinking of is if we're looking at the back of the card, right? The back of the card has 1, 2, 3, 4 potentially on the card itself. So that's on the surface. So that's going to impact the surface. And I don't know, what is this? Now I'm really looking. It is hard. It is, Clint, that's like kind of like the take it with a grain of salt kind of thing. It is tough. Like, I don't know if that's, is that a hair now? I don't know if that is. That's a hair. Okay. Okay. So we have hairs. We have, don't mean to like call out your card's conditions, but all right. So we found hair, we found dirt, we found scratches on the slab. You do have dogs. I'm assuming you do with your PFP there, with your golden boy. All right. So this is my final answer. I'm thinking just based off of the centering and based off of what's on the card. I think just judging by how the corners look, I'd probably say an 8 would be my guess. All right, dudes, drum roll. What do you got for us? Clint, thanks so much for the follow. It's 10. It's a 10 with white spots on it, huh? Huh. You know what's so funny? It's almost like we did the same thing when we looked at that one Mew. Remember that? I don't know if you were in there. The one with it was the Mew with the white ding on the bottom. We're like, oh, that's gonna easily get an 8. And then it ends up getting a 10 anyway. So I mean, congrats. Like if those white specks are actually on that card, congrats, man. That's sick. But anyway. That was fun. Let me just mark these real quick. Because that is my time of the night. So, for those of you who are new, he slipped a 20. That's what I'm saying, Wicked. Sometimes people, sometimes you guys got to throw in a little bit of extra cashola. But yeah, as always, another grade review in the books, episode 14. Super, super fun as always. Always enjoy these. Again, for those of you who are wondering how to submit to here, before we continue, I have the image on screen. So the thumbnail on the pin video should be called Grade Review and How To. So if you watch that, it's about a 45-second video if you want to have your card submitted for grade review. It's a free service. It'll teach you how to go to the Discord. It'll teach you how to go to the appropriate channel, and it will teach you how to like what requirements are needed for the pictures to be accepted into grade review. It's all queue based. It's all free. Yeah. I do have a little fun surprise at the end that I was like cooking up the last few nights. It's nothing crazy. I guess it's like a little teaser to hopefully what I'll have finished by next week. Just to kind of wrap up the night, just to kind of give a little anime outro, which is always fun. But yeah, I appreciate everyone that's followed and shared and liked the live. Again, I do stream consistently on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. I try to make a habit of it with a little bit of extra streams here and there. So if you want to be notified when I go live, you can either follow the TikTok, which is probably the easiest, or if you want to go over to the Discord, both of which can be found in the TikTok portal. So again, I appreciate everyone hanging out. I really do appreciate the support. You guys are such a cool community. that likes this stuff, especially for me not doing rip and ships and selling you guys stuff. It definitely means a lot to see the support. So yeah, I appreciate you guys, and I'm going to wrap it out with a new outro so you guys can hear some music that I've been kind of cooking up in the behind the scenes. So I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.